And that's it. And now it's live.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what's up, Mr. Barnes? I'll go ahead and introduce our guest instead of chatting before like I have before. This is Mr. Bryan Barnes, for those that aren't familiar. He's kind of a well-known local paramedic. Fun fact about Bryan, he's also a dual citizen. You still have your dual citizenship, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a Canadian. I actually talked about putting on a Canadian tuxedo today.
You should have.
Look,
man.
I had a jean jacket, but I did not have a jean shirt. And I didn't have time to go grab one. I was looking around to see if I had one. But I was joking around at Walmart, and I was like, I should get like a couple of Bat Blues.
Oh,
put
man.
Put them across right here.
throw a moose head in there, man. We'll be rocking and rolling.
Now, do any of your parents, or do you still have family in Canada?
I do not.
Okay.
So the story of me being Canadian, me and my brother, was my mom, when she finished college, became a social worker out in California.
Yeah.
She's originally from Ohio, and anyway, the Watts riots happened, and she went out there to change the world with her hippie heart. And the riots happened. She went back to live with her mom.
Yeah.
She had just finished up her bachelor's degree, probably 2 years before that, and then moved back. She moved to Nova Scotia. My dad just finished his PhD up. He was a child psychologist and a football coach. And funny story, he was actually offered a job with the Denver Broncos as an offensive line coach. So he had to make that decision.
So a psychologist and an offensive line coach?
So he coached at Rutgers and coached at Boston University. And he was a graduate assistant with that. So that's how it paid for the majority of his secondary education. So anyway, he made a decision that one of his ex-players, when he was coaching, was taking a sabbatical for a year to go do research, and was the president of Acadia University in Halifax. So he offered him the job for a year. And he went over there and was teaching psychology and was just the acting president of the university, and ran into my mom. Yeah. And he fell in love. He said, I knew it the first time I ever saw her. So they did that. Then probably 10 years after I was born, they were there for about, I think, 16, 17 years. Yeah. But about 10 years after I was born, my dad wanted to move closer. His family is originally from Pennsylvania. Yeah. So he just wanted to move closer, move up.
So both your parents were born in the U.S.?
Yes.
Okay.
They actually got dual citizenship when we had moved over.
Oh, okay.
But they still had residency for that year, so they went back over, took the tests, and got dual citizenship.
I guess I was always under the impression that one of your parents or both your parents are born in Canada.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I never asked you specifically about it.
No, I'm pretty much an American.
Which, a little bit more about Bryan. Bryan is also a very good educator. Instructor, probably one of the best people just generally teaching you something that I've known. Bryan can break it down very simply into your terms, no matter, I would probably say about to everybody, but I'm sure there's somebody that just didn't get what you're trying to say. But more than anybody else, Bryan can break whatever complex subject, whether it be probably anything medical or anything Bryan understands that you're trying to understand. He can break it down very simply for you.
Man, I appreciate that, buddy. So, I still hold Trish Hawks definitely on that mountaintop, and probably Barbara Tucker too. But
look, and I'm like the opposite. Like I'm like, all right, we can do it like this way. I don't understand it. Well, okay, we can kind of do it this way. Like I'm not terrible, but I'm more of just like a lab person. Like, let's just do this. Let's play around with this stuff, and I'll show you some stuff. Trying to explain it with words, it's not a strong suit.
Just watch what I do.
Yeah. Look, let me show you this. See what I'm doing here? Like, this is what I'm doing. But yeah, Bryan's currently assistant director of local service around here, which I'm glad to hear. Nothing, I can't think of anybody probably better to do that.
I gotta say, I've really enjoyed the leadership side of things. Yeah, trying to. I think, especially during COVID, EMS culture became a little toxic.
Yeah, it did.
I will say this: I've been in EMS now for 23 years. Yeah, and it's the only time during my career that I ever thought about getting out of it. Was during COVID. I was working for a local flight service and just being pinned up in those tin cans with this disease in the beginning that we didn't understand. Yeah. But it was a pandemic and it was going to kill us all. And, man, it was pretty terrifying. I've got a beautiful wife and a wonderful wonderful young man. Wonderful son.
Look, is he taller than you now? I see some picture on Facebook. I was like, gosh, he's so tall.
He is. He is officially like half an inch taller than me. So it's horrible.
Look, I think Adeline Earl, she's like within an inch and a half. Actually, they wear the same size shoes.
Wow.
I know. She's 11. She's grown. We have, I guess, technically a teenager now, but man, time flies. But I did work with Bryan on the truck, on and off several different services. But look, I'm gonna tell a funny story. When I was a young medic, I don't know if you remember this, but I don't even know if I've been a medic a year. We were working in a county, and we had a bad trauma. I don't know if it was a foiler wreck or something, but I remember the guy was down in the ditch, and he had a obviously broke leg, and he had an open fracture with like the end of his fib or something sticking out. And I remember looking at distracting injury, and I've been a medic. I don't even think I've been a medic a year. And Bryan was my partner who'd been a medic. When did you get your medic? 04, 05?
Got my medic in 03.
Okay, 03. Yeah, so at this point, it had to be 08, 09. So yeah, you've been a medic 5 or 6 years and good experience. And I'm like, what do we do? And you're just looking at me like, we're going to, like, I don't remember, you said, like, splint it. We're going to take him to the hospital or something. Like, I remember you just looking at me like, what do you mean? What are we going to do?
I actually remember.
Do you remember that call?
Funny enough, my recollection of that call was the end of his femur.
Oh, is that what it was? I was trying to remember. It was like a job.
It was either femur or tib fib, but it was in the dirt.
Yeah, and we pulled him. It like came out. And I was like,
and it was like, what do we do? I was like, let's get him on a backboard and go, man. Like,
yeah. I remember you just looking at me like, what do you mean? We're not gonna fix that. Like, we're just gonna, like I said, I don't remember fix. I just remember always just look on your face at me like, what are you talking about? What are we gonna do? I remember just looking at it. We pulled him out, and
it's so funny because the more we do this, the more we look at these younger guys. It's like, how do you not know this?
Yeah.
And we tend to forget kind of where we were.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was a medic for about 2.5 years working with Morgan Garcia.
Yeah.
And we had this guy, nasty wreck, upside down in the vehicle. And I'm trying to figure out how to hold C-spine and kind of get him down. And the guy's not breathing. And Morgan walks by with a knife and cuts his seatbelt. And the guy falls right down on his head. And I grab him and I yank him out. He's like, now you can hold C-spine, buddy. I was like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? But we've all had those moments. That's one of the things why I appreciate the younger generation and kind of just, I don't know, man. So the reason why I love teaching, I love watching those light bulbs go on because I remember those moments.
Yeah.
When those light bulbs came on for me.
Look, and I love, in a way, telling self-deprecating stories.
Oh, God.
Because people see me now and like, oh, you're a flight medic. I'm like, no, I am a medic who works on a helicopter. Don't think I'm like this super medic or whatever. I was like, let me tell you some dumb stories I've done.
Yes.
I was like, I got a laundry list of stupid stuff. I'm sure you probably got some terribly embarrassing stories to me. But it's like, there's no end. I was like, I'm an impulsive person a lot of times. And sometimes, especially when I was younger, I didn't think stuff through.
Absolutely, man. It couldn't be more true. It was just one of those like nervous moments I remember when I stopped flying.
Yeah.
And I've been an educator for several years. So there's this expectation that I'm not going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
This guy taught me.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I'm human like the rest of us, man. We're making snap decisions in poor environments with very little information, and we're just trying to do the best to get people alive to a hospital.
Yeah.
And, man, we make mistakes all the time.
Look, and that's like I said the first podcast I did with Larry, I was like, even since I started, I had a pet peeve with even providers thinking like our own providers and air medical thinking like we're better than people on the ground or at hospitals, whatever. I was like, I am not talking down about any of them because I've been there and there are people on the ground I know who are smarter than me and know more than me of medical and treating a patient. I said, just because I'm in a helicopter and I got a little pretty flight suit, don't make me, as they would say, King Turd of Crap Island.
Absolutely.
I said, I just got better protocols and I get taught a whole lot more and often, probably.
Absolutely.
So, but there's no replacement for self-education.
There's not.
You can always do a ton of that.
We had one of the young men that just graduated. We've had a lot of successes.
Yeah.
At the service I work at, with a lot of recent graduations from critical care medic to nursing school, EMT school, ACE school, paramedic. We just got a whole bunch of folks, and I just keep reminded. I'm like, congratulations, guys. You just passed your bare minimum competency exam.
Yeah.
To say you just know just enough.
Yeah.
right? That we feel comfortable, we'll let you do this job, but please keep learning.
Yeah, it was some podcast. One of the SEALs were talking about. I don't know. It was one of the famous SEALs were talking about. Yeah, you graduated buds. Okay, now your learning starts.
Yes,
it's like that's just like an entry exam. And I'm not military, but that was the concept. And as a civilian, I was like, oh, okay. We hear of buds. It's like, oh, you're a Navy SEAL. No, not now. Now your SEALness starts.
Yes.
And that's kind of this. Like I got my FPC and I wasn't a flight medic yet. It's like, oh, you're a flight medic. No, I have a certification that says I have this. I have not. I worked on a helicopter.
Hey, do you know Kyle West?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know him and I've met him, but I don't know him personally, but I do know him.
He always used to say this. It was one of the funniest sayings I ever heard. It's like, how do you know if somebody's a flight medic?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, give him 5 minutes. I'll tell you. And I always love that about it.
Yeah.
And then you walk around and you see the people. We used to have that conversation when I flew. It's, are you here for the care and the education? Or are you here for the suit?
Yeah.
We always kind of have.
Look, and that's I tell people, even if I'm out and about and people ask like what you do, it's like I just tell them I'm a paramedic.
Yeah.
Now if they go further into it, like where you work or anything like that, I was like, well, I work for evac and I work as a flight medic. But I truly believe that I am just a medic, and if I go back on a truck, I'm still just a medic. I have a flight cert, but I am just a medic of
that's
the
what
air.
we are.
And so I feel like it's a little bit pompous in a way, like I'm a flight medic, and I guess because of that stereotype too.
No,
yeah. So I just say I'm a medic, and usually that alleviates any other questions. Okay, I know what you do. You get, which sometimes you don't talk to people. Maybe like you tell them flight medic, they got a ton of questions, and I don't usually mind answering, but sometimes you don't want to. Like we're just chit chatting at the dentist or the doctor. Like I don't want to go through all that. I'm here to do something.
Yeah, I want to sit in this chair and play on my phone and enjoy 5 minutes apiece.
Yeah. Oh, you get
start.
scared riding a helicopter? Well, no, not really. I was like, I get more scared in ambulance these days because of drivers.
God, yes.
I trust the company, trust my helicopter, trust my pilots. Anything could happen, but also, where we live in Georgia, you got a long way to go to Atlanta and stuff, and 75 is terrible, and drivers are bad, and weather's not that great, and sometimes roads aren't that great, so...
Yeah, I don't know.
And deer. We got deer at the wazoo.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing about it is when generally something bad happens, it's pretty catastrophic.
Yeah,
So it's pretty.
And was Kim, when you started as a flight medic, was Kim worried about that with you a lot, or was she kind of
absolutely?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know if I've ever asked Ashley directly, like when I started, how concerned she was, but I know now she'll say like I'd be more concerned to getting on an ambulance and doing long transfers because she was always worried about the tiredness factor and just long drive, just the amount of things that can go wrong in hitting an ambulance or whatever. Local 911, back and forth around town. I'm sure she was not worried about, which I don't know. Albany's pretty busy, but yeah, she'll tell people that. She's like, I'm more worried about if we went back doing transfer stuff on ambulance. But she also knows our pilots, and our mechanic. And I have a great mechanic at my base.
And that's a real big thing.
Yeah.
Once she got to know everybody, I think she felt I know she felt much more comfortable.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it really was
Yeah.
You think about it for doing this as long as I have, and I've been married almost my entire paramedic career, probably out of 2.5 years I've been married. And, one of the things I tell people on like EMS day at church or something like that, it's like, you don't be thanking us. We're the ones that get to go away, play in a helicopter, play in the Xbox, run around, have fun, laugh and joke with our friends, our second family at EMS. And, our spouses are there raising kids, taking care of sick kids, like we talked about before, and they're the unsung heroes for what it is that we do. They still work jobs. Mm-hmm. I heard your podcast you did with Pete, and absolutely fantastic job. And God, that man's such a rock star.
Oh, look, I love Pete when he's telling somebody doesn't like me. I was like, nobody does not.
Yes.
If I meet them, Pete, I will have a lot of questions for them.
Yeah. Man, if somebody doesn't like you, they need to go look in the mirror, bud.
Yeah. What is your issue that you're taking out on Pete?
Yes. So I was just listening to it and talk about what a great career it was, and I feel the same way in talking about family. And it was real refreshing to hear somebody, because I met a gentleman last night in a restaurant I've known for years and years. He's an EMS staple. I started in '88. He's out of the profession now, and his first words out of his mouth were, "God, I'm so glad I'm out of EMS." And that's just that it such breaks my heart.
Yeah,
because it's been so good to me and my family. It really has. I got a kid I couldn't be more proud of. He's an America's fireman.
I've tried to send him some business because that's how I went through. I was like, look,
absolutely.
If you don't want to go to college or you don't feel like going the tech school route, I say get hired on them. They'll train you. I said I can't. I still speak highly of them.
Yeah, they're a bunch of great guys.
Yeah,
and he works there. He takes his advanced EMT test in the morning.
Oh.
So he's looking to go to paramedic school.
So have you made sure he's prepped well for that as being the instructor you are?
I have not. I did what I call the smart thing.
Yeah.
And I sent him to Trish for 2
days. Okay. Yeah.
So yes, I made sure he's prepped. But there's nobody better than her. So no. I absolutely sent him that way. But I think about what, a selfless job it is. Mm-hmm. It's not selfless just for us that it gets to do it. It's also for the families and the wives and the kids that sacrifice so much. So I was happy to see my child go into that field, which a lot of what people say, I get a lot of that, God, that must break your heart. And it's like, no, he spent his whole life knowing that we would be gone, but he felt that I think his dad, and his dad's friends were all out there serving the community.
Yeah.
And helping, and that he chose to go that path. I think it's pretty cool, man. I'm very excited and real super proud of him.
Yeah. Heck, I would be too. I don't know if my daughters have an interest in it yet. Adeline has changed. She's 11. Yeah. But, of course, a 4-year-old, she don't know anything. But she knows Daddy works in the helicopter.
Absolutely.
That's it. She sees one. There's Daddy in the helicopter. No, Daddy's not working today. Daddy's at home. What are you talking about? I was about to say something else. I was going to ask something about Brody, and I forgot what it was. I don't know what it was. So, anyways, I want to go back to your childhood. So, you came to the States when you were 10, or what time?
Yes, 10, 11 years old.
Now, did you move down here, or did you move? What was your path? Because I guess kind of want to know your path to get down here. Because, it kind of seems, this area of Georgia is small town, rural. It's not exactly a magnet for travel or people to settle, I would say.
Yes, you'd be correct. Life is strange, man.
Yeah.
We moved to Vermont.
Yeah.
My dad's family was Pennsylvania. Mm. My brother got sick, had a brain tumor, ended up removing it, ended up having a stroke afterwards. Mm. So the weather in Vermont, the snow, the tough winters, it was really hard for him to get around. Yeah. So my dad moved us to Rome, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So we lived in Rome for a while. And
Berry College up there.
We backed right up to Berry College.
That is a pretty campus.
Yeah, we used to just get on our bikes and just spend all day there.
Yeah.
But and then I got into swimming, and I went to a swim camp at University of Georgia, and he said there's 2 places in the state you need to go, either Swim Atlanta or America's Georgia, under the Blue Tide. They had a phenomenal swim team, several Olympians, and my dad did not want to live in Atlanta. No. So America's Georgia is what it was. Huh. And I moved down here probably 6-7 months before they did.
I did not know America's had such a good swimming program back then.
Absolutely.
I remember, I went to Southwestern for a little bit, and I remember the Blue Tide, the pool and everything, but I didn't know it was all that. Yeah,
the Angel Myers.
Name sounds familiar.
She was I think she qualified for the Olympics 2 times, several gold medals.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Huh. Now is the Blue Tide still that big? I've been away from America's for a while, but is it still a big program?
They no longer have a swimming pool.
Oh well, there you go.
So it's now a parking lot. If you ever go through America's, they've bulldozed. It's really sad because a lot of people, like you said, have some experience in America's, but don't know sort of the tradition. There used to be a swimming pool on Bell Street. Mm-hmm. There were several world records set there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember the pool, the indoor pool there, Blue Tide and everything.
No, that would have been over there at the college. Yeah. Was it Klessner or not?
Yeah, yeah. It was over there when I was out there, was it Prance Hall or whatever?
Yeah, this is over by America's High is another pool.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Over there on Bell Street.
Yeah.
And that was, because it was built very uniquely.
Yeah.
It was short course yards one way, short course meters another way. So you can set world records in either yards, short course meters, or long course meters.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of U.S. swimming in short course meters.
Huh.
So there were several American and Olympic records or world records set there.
Huh. I never knew that.
Now it's a parking lot.
That's sad.
So really sad. So yeah. So then I came. That's what brought me here, and then went up to a small town in Kentucky where I went to college. And then it was a great 6 months. Had a blast.
Yeah.
Full scholarship for swimming.
Yeah.
And then moseyed down to Disney World to work as a lifeguard.
Huh. So I remember you told me a long time ago when we were partners, you went over to Greece. So when was that? When did you go study abroad or whatever that was?
Yeah, there was a lot of education, but no studying. Absolutely no studying over there. When I was working at Disney, trying to figure out a path and what I wanted to do as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And I met this guy who had opened a water park and was just coming to look how Disney ran things and did some recruiting, and asked me if I wanted a job. And I was like, absolutely, I want to go live in Greece. So I went over there for one summer, and 5 years later, I came back home.
5 years? I didn't know you were over there 5 years.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience, man. Thinks about it, it's all a different lifetime. But I'd work for about 8 months, and then I'd travel around Europe for the other 4, North Africa or some of the Middle East.
So did you get like pretty proficient in Greek or whatever?
No, not really.
No, not really.
I could speak a bunch of like sayings, but I wasn't fluent by any means.
I keep thinking like, one of the people at my base is speak Spanish, and I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, which I learned Spanish in high school, and I was pretty proficient, like writing papers and stuff. But I never like immersed myself in a culture. Yeah. And I always thought, like, man, if I had a Spanish speaking partner, I'd probably be trying to speak Spanish all the time and get better at it. Because I know just enough. We have a Spanish speaking patient or something.
I remember growing up, growing up in Canada. We did the national anthem in French. Every Tuesday and Thursday. We had French class every single day.
Yeah. So
there was a point when I came over, I spoke a good bit of French.
Yeah.
You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. All gone now.
Yeah, and you got to think, man, I'm almost 50, but it was almost 30 years ago I was living in Greece.
Hey, I'll be 44 this year. Time flies.
It does.
Yeah, let's see here. I think I met you. Like I said, I probably knew you before a little bit when I worked fire department before I started. But yeah, when I started fire department, I was 22. And so, yeah, you've known me over 20 years.
I was thinking about that on the way over here. I was like, our paths have been, our whole careers have been very close.
Yeah.
At different places, because we worked together at that hospital service, when you left the fire department.
Yeah. And I worked up there in Schley for a little bit. Well, I worked there for 3 years till, I met my wife and moved down here further away. And I was like, it's too long a drive.
And I was over here working at that point.
Yeah. And then we worked lead together, which I was there for 10 years. And, which you weren't at Terrell when I was there, I don't think. I think you'd left or something. Because you worked there for a little while, didn't you?
So that was my first job.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
So, yeah, that would have been...
Yeah.
Funny story. I couldn't get hired anywhere.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. I'm like, think just about how it was. I was a paramedic. I did what they call the fast track program.
Yeah.
But I didn't work at all because I was still swimming. When I came back and went through paramedic school, I was trying to remake Olympic trials again. So I got back in the pool, was swimming and training. So that's what I concentrated was school and swimming. And so I didn't work like everybody does. And, man, I couldn't get hired. And thank heavens Trish called Bo and just said, please, you won't regret it. One of the few people that believed in me back then. And,
now, how long did you work for Terrell then?
I worked there for about a year.
Yeah.
And then I was going to go to PA school. I got a swimming scholarship up at LaGrange College. And... my sweet, beautiful dispatcher of a wife. That's how we met.
Oh, she was a dispatcher at Terrell?
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how you met. I remember you told me one time you met her when you came back from Greece or whatever or something.
She was on B shift with B and Jason and all them crazy fools.
Yeah.
Lane and
so, that was B was my part-time partner for 8 years.
Yeah.
I need to see if I can get her on there, but I don't know if she wanted how talkative she'd be. But anyways,
she'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to we got a job at Hurd, Hurricane Fire EMS.
Yeah.
So when we went up there, and then we had that wonderful moment, like 3 months of being up there going, I'm sick every morning. Take some more NyQuil. So anyway, that's our path. So we came back here, That was when I got hired over there at Sumter Regional.
Yeah.
And
so when you came back from Greece, did you come back here and like just decide, hey, I'm going to do EMS, or was it kind of like how did that? I mean, how did it get you into EMS?
So crazy story. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we kind of separated over in Greece, and I was like, "There's nothing holding me here. I've got to go do something of some substance. You know, I can't be a professional lifeguard." So I finished out my contract, came back, and landed here like September 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
In 2001, and 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone and called because they had if you can support or want to help.
Yeah.
And I kept calling. I kept getting are you a firefighter? Are you a paramedic? Are you police? And that's what every time I call somebody or ask, I get a little foot in the door. And I just couldn't, there was no need for me to help without any of those certifications and training. So probably September 14th, 15th, 16th, I signed up for paramedic school. Started in May. I moved up and worked construction in Detroit up until end of April, came back and went to paramedic school.
So how did you get to the construction in Detroit from here? Like, how did that? I mean, that seems like a fairly interesting story to go from here to there.
So my uncle, my mom's brother, had a business up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was opening up a new office building, doing his financial planner, and he just needed some grunts for a construction site.
Yeah.
So
Detroit. I went up there one time, but it was...
So this was actually a small town called Oxford.
Yeah.
It's where a bunch of my cousins on my mom's side have graduated. It's where they had a bad school shooting there, I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. Probably longer back than that, but just a suburb of Detroit.
Yeah. So you came back and started your paramedic?
Yes. Knew nothing, man.
So did you apply, or how did you find out? I mean...
So I met with Trish before in September.
Yeah.
And put my application in and did all that stuff and then left. And then came back in April.
Oh, okay. I got you. Start your paramedic program. Yeah, I got signed up for the paramedic program. You know, I think I probably told you a story. I was fighting the wildfires in Waycross when I was working fire department.
Okay.
And Jody was the training officer there.
Uh-huh.
And he called me as I'm working. Hey, you still want to go to paramedic school? And I'm like, because I kind of casually mentioned it. I really had no, like, ultimate desire. Like, it was kind of like, yeah, I'll probably go to it. I was like, sure, I guess. Okay, start Monday when you get back. What? Like, I guess he signed me all up till to this day. Like, I just showed up, filled out some paperwork. Like, he had me signed up, and I started, like, the Monday. I think I got back on, like, a Saturday or something like that. And, like...
You had in your class was pretty big America's Fire, wasn't it?
My EMTI class was, but I was the only America's Fire in my... paramedic class. Yeah, you know, I had Radford in with me.
Bless.
And I had the two, you know, there's 3 of us from Americas. It was me, Radford, and Colby. I can't remember Colby's last name. But, which he was just taking it to get into PA school because he already had like a biology major and stuff. Which he was super smart. But yeah, it was us 3 and we carpool, you know. And I got many stories about Radford carpooling his fierce spiders. And I mean, that was a lot of fun time, you know. But yeah, I was the only one from America's Fire, and so yeah, I don't have I didn't have a noble calling. I just kind of fell into it, and like fire. I mean, I started fire department because I only wanted to work 10 days a month, you know.
Yeah,
and you know, it's funny the way things lead you. I never thought it was something I'd be good at or have an interest in. I mean, I guess I did because I knew I couldn't work an office job, but
you know, my son's favorite person in this world is his granddad.
Yeah,
my wife's father.
Yeah.
And he was a retired fire chief. Mm-hmm. And, man, he's an amazing man, but, boy, my boy looks up to him. And I know that's why I became a fireman. People are like, did you do public safety because of you? I'm like, no.
Like, I don't have anybody in my family public safety. My dad was a carpenter his whole life, construction. My mom worked for Southern Bell, like telecom. She was like a manager and stuff for 30 years. And my dad's dad was a farmer, and his mama was basically like a homemaker or whatever, my grandma. And then my mom's dad, he passed away when I was like 3, but I think he was in the Navy. Like I said, I don't really, sadly, I don't know too much about him. But so yeah, I didn't have any. I was the only person, and it was just because I was lazy. I didn't want a real job. you know. And, I mean, it was a real job, but I knew I couldn't be a 9-to-5 person. They told me like how you work, and they were like, oh, that's right up my alley.
I'm telling you, man, the struggle is real, buddy. I'm 9 to 5 now, or 7 to 4. But man, it's a. I don't know how anybody in the real world gets anything done.
I've told Ashley the same thing. I was like, I don't know if I could do that because I like my days off when like nobody's here and I can get stuff done at the house and knock stuff out. Yeah,
like doctor's appointments and just little things like you're always either taking off of work or having to do it on the weekends. It's horrible.
Yeah. I've often, I've told that, and I don't, half my life at this point I've worked 24-hour shifts, and days it sucks, but it's just kind of one of those things I'm used to. I keep holding out. I'm still doing all right now, but I don't know, like I said, I don't know what else I do. I mean, I'm sure something would present itself, but I don't know. I do like my job for the most part, and it also goes back to like I saw my dad work his whole life as labor more or less.
Yeah.
And so I also think back to those times of. When I'm having a rough shift, I'm like, well, I'm not installing cabinets in a hot-ass house in the middle of summer, or sanding down countertops or spraying lacquer and stuff that, as any kind of day labor or whatever. I was like, so it ain't that bad.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I guess it's all your point of reference. There's always something that seems better.
EMS is EMS fire. They're both wonderful professions. They really are.
Well, see, and I think part of it is, too, and I've come to discover this out myself a little bit from, I guess, working it for so long. I'm a person that has to have, I think, at some point, some kind of job satisfaction. Like I'm doing it for a reason or a purpose. And I don't think I could be like, and I'm not trying to hate on accountants, but I don't think I'd be like an accountant just doing like a job.
Right.
Like I think I'd have to have something with like a greater mission or goal or something.
I think you're a lot like me in the it's got to challenge you a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to want to be there.
Yeah.
You probably never, I would say you're probably a lot like me. You never really taken any job for money.
Yeah.
Like, how much am I going to make? Sure, sounds good. I don't care. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to go teach. When I took a massive pay cut to go teach,
mm-hmm.
But that was just because that's what I wanted to do. I felt, compelled and a passion to do it.
Yeah. And I've told people, I was like, best job I ever had. I said, when I worked with Terrell and I was making $9 an hour, I said, because Bo, at the time, just run your calls. Do what you need to do. If you want to go grab some lunch, go grab some lunch. And it was just do your job, and there wasn't anybody breathing down your neck. It was just do the job, treat the citizens well, don't do stupid stuff, and just like the freedom to have your own responsibility and do paramedic stuff, And I loved it. I loved it. But, at some point you have to have some better pay. And people whine about pay now. And there's I wish all of us got paid a ton, but I don't think that in itself would solve like all the problems of EMS. I think some people want to put a singular focus on, you don't get paid enough, this is bad. But that's never been a great thing.
So I'll tell you a funny story. To me, it encapsulates EMS and a lot of the EMS mindset.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy of mine was the EMS director,
mm-hmm.
right? And every year, the company would give everybody 2% raise.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2 or 3 years straight, he gave them the 2%. And it'd take about 6 months before they'd start complaining about they need more money, not more money. This is enough. Totally forgot about the 2% he got. So you know how he addressed it?
How's that?
He gave him 1%, waited 6 months, gave him the other 1%. He said they never complained about money anymore.
That's funny.
And it cost them, it literally cost them 1%, which I'm sure is not a lot, but 1% for 6 months. They lost money and were happier.
Yeah.
Because they were so short-sighted.
And I've said this before, maybe not on this podcast, but I've said this before in general, was that, I think people will take a job for better money or whatever, but I think they'll stay there for management. Like Terrell, if the pay was drastically worse there than everywhere else, but if it could have had benefits or something to at least be somewhat comparable, I would have loved to stay there at a place like that. And I think there's some short-sightedness in EMS today of like you don't understand the necessity of good management in leaders, of like how much that affects your company and like line personnel. Like, okay, I know you might have some private services that want like, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this well. You might want a good company person, but though it might look good on your bottom line to accountants, to people on the line, that's not a trustworthy person that they like as a boss, and they might not want to stay there because of that. Am I expressing that well enough? Do you get what I'm saying?
The way I look at it is,
maybe you can express that better. I don't know.
No. The term that I use and the term that I've is culture.
Yeah.
I really think culture is the combination of what it's like beliefs and how you operate.
Yeah.
It's just kind of core values, and then what do we do in our ethics? And that's kind of what I think culture is. And I think creating a good culture where people feel cared for, part of a team, a member, not just an employee. I think if you can truly create that, where people feel with some buy-in.
Yeah.
I know there's a company out there, and I'll be as vague as possible with it, but I know there's of this company where there's several of the employees kind of keep that company running in that area. And, the head guy is not incredibly really well liked. Mm-hmm. But the culture at that base or that place is so good that the people run it.
Yeah.
They're the ones that keep that place going, regardless of, it's almost they have this singular goal moving forward, and it's like the other people, the people above them are trying to sabotage them as frequently as possible, but their will and that culture that those guys have created.
Yeah.
One of the things I think about culture that's truly correct and leadership is neither one of those things come with a position.
True.
You know what I mean?
A title is
absolutely 100%. But your culture comes from your employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's how they're acting. It's how they feel. And the leaders are truly those employees. People ask me what my job is, and my job is to make your job easier.
Yeah.
Tell me what you need. If you're happy, if you're productive, then you're going to give good patient care and make sure you're educated, and that's kind of. It's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I think there's just I am not a, leadership expert. I mean, I think there's some things I recognize from my time as doing supervisory stuff and just my years in EMS, but I'm I'm not Jocko Willink, but, I think some of the basics of it is, like I was telling Pete, there's nothing you would ever ask of anybody else that you would not do yourself or have done yourself.
Right.
Not to say that's the only qualification of a leader, but I think part of that, too, is the trust and transparency. Like Pete, and I'm going to go off of Pete because I think
because there's almost nobody better to go off of.
I'm sure in some areas of being a supervisor, Pete had some minor deficiency, probably according to his higher-ups. I don't think anybody on the line would ever say Pete had a deficiency, anybody that worked for him. But I'm sure probably some higher-ups at whatever didn't like him for whatever reason, because he did look out for his employees or his subordinates. But I think there has to have a level of trust knowing that somebody has your back. Now, you can't tell them everything as a boss. I understand there's some stuff that you're privy to that they can't be. And some boss will be like, I just can't tell you. It's not your business, or whatever terms you want to say. But I think there's got to be a level of trust and transparency and consistency of what they're going to give you, what you expect out of them, Absolutely. And that they're here to make your job easier. But, and that goes both ways. They'll say, well, those employees, they don't do right or whatever. But, I firmly believe, and this goes back to like sports, what you did swimming, but I'm sure you did some kind of team sports. But there was, and I don't even know who said this, it's probably been said for forever, but a team will take on the attitude of its manager. And I believe that's the same for EMS, fire, whatever, base culture, station culture, fire, whatever. So if you have a captain or whatever, all the subordinates will gradually, whether they realize it or not, and this, I would say my opinion, but I think it's moderately well proven. For the most part, they'll take on the attitude of that person, And I think if you have like a boss who's proactive, seems interested in his employees, general well-being, has established a level of trust and respect, that they will also give that. Okay, this person, fire captain, whoever, expects this out of me, and I see him going above and beyond. I guess I need to as well. Now, it's not going to be across the board for everybody. You're also, everybody's different. You're going to have some people that just don't have that gung-ho-ness. But I think there's whatever percentage that affects everybody else, it's, a cancer, whether that be good or bad. It can go both ways.
You're so right.
And I see that, and I think of it, and it goes back to baseball. I played baseball for forever, and that's what I always think of. And it might have been a famous baseball player that said that, or a manager. Hell, it might have been Tommy Lewis or something. But I heard that, and it's for me, it's always stuck with me. And I see that throughout my EMS fire career of takes on attitude as manager. And I think sometimes that's forgotten. Once you do something for so long, get complacency, you forget that. Or maybe the bosses do, but I don't know. I see that.
Absolutely. One of the things we talk a lot about around the station is that, for years, it was hard to get a job in EMS.
Yeah.
It was hard to get a full-time job in EMS.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hire you part-time.
You had to go part-time first.
We'll see if you work out here. Let's see if you fit. And, they asked a lot of you. And it's just not the same anymore. It's these kids are walking into full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just, the culture has just changed.
Yeah. There's probably so many variables in it. But I remember when we went, when we went to paramedic school, we both went through Trish. We both went through the same instructor, the same teacher at the same school, just 5 years apart. But I don't remember, and I remember thinking this once I got working full time. I don't remember learning anything about insurance and billing in school.
You're so right.
And I was like, they didn't teach me nothing about this. And I remember the first time they told us, and it never fails me that, oh yeah, you got to get the car insurance from that wrecked person. Like, what? Like, yeah, I know you're treating them and everything, but see if you can get their State Farm, policy and everything. I was like, what? It's like, so this person I'm pulling out of the car, I need to go see if I can find their car insurance stuff. They're like, yeah, because they pay faster than health insurance. I just felt so gross.
Yes.
And I know it's part of the culture now. It's just part of the thing. And most people expect it. You go to the hospital, you have your insurance card. I remember it just felt kind of icky when I learned that. And I kind of felt like EMS kind of went downhill after that. After it became not so much patient-minded, community service, it became a business.
It's funny. I remember Bobby Tripp saying this.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely right. And a lot of ways that he was definitely ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said in a staff meeting, I was very, very new in Dougherty County, and I felt the same way. It rubbed me the wrong way at the time.
Yeah.
And now the older I am, the more it makes sense and how right it was.
Yeah.
He said, guys, we got to stop thinking about them as patients. They're now customers. And it's that just hurt everything in your soul.
Yeah.
Like that's not why I did this.
Yeah.
Because we were in the tail end of, it didn't care. The county was going to have an EMS service. There weren't a lot of private services in our area.
Yeah.
It wasn't about money. It was about taking care of people. Mm-hmm. And that's a challenge that I have because on my end, it's got to be about both.
Yeah.
In the position that I sit at, it's, and I tell them, yes, utmost first, it's for the patient and people.
Yeah.
But guys, we did the work. Let's get paid for it so we can get raises and all the other things, the new equipment. We can get all the other things we want. We have got to do both. But I'm 100% with you, man. I'll never forget the first time you said that. That hurt my soul.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, I basically work for, a private EMS of the sky.
Yes.
I get it. I'm older. I'm not a young buck anymore that's as naive. But it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to express this very well. I'm trying to figure out how to express it well. I understand it, and it doesn't affect my patient care. I guess I kind of wish there was a way that bosses could express it better, I guess. And not that my boss expresses it terribly, but you see it like an underlying current. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily affect you, but you see it.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to wade in both those fields.
But I think one of the disconnects that I see with some,
and not just air medical. I mean, private service on the ground.
100% is that our roles and responsibilities are different.
Yeah.
What I was hired for is not what you were hired for.
Yeah.
So you feel like I'm hired for patient care. Why do I care about billing?
Yeah.
and I'm hired for a bottom line.
Yeah.
That's got to be, that's why I get a paycheck.
Yeah.
If I don't worry about the bottom line and I let it go haywire, well, guess what? I don't have a job.
Yeah.
So there's more. I think it's just different insight.
Yeah. I guess the meshing of those two worlds is what's so difficult. Like you have people on the bottom end or line people, especially new people that are probably coming out of school that, like I was in a different time. But you're like, it's all about patient care, taking care of the patient. Now I got to worry about this other stuff. And it just seemed kind of like polluted. But I often wonder, like, if that's part of like.
I don't want to say the word corrupt
or
disingenuine but it kind of feels that way. I remember feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I promise I would much rather sit up and talk about medical stuff.
Yeah.
Than have billing conversations and reimbursement.
Yeah.
But, it's what I'm paid for.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, it's a job.
Yeah, it is. And now, it's just part of, now the new culture. It's just part of it now.
Yeah.
Got to get the paperwork. I really wish I could articulate this better. Like,
remember when the worst thing that we had to worry about with paperwork was the bubbles?
Yeah.
Like we complained about the bubbles, and the bubbles went away, and we were like, man, I can't stand computers.
Everybody had their Sharpie, dotting.
Oh, God,
dot,
yes.
dot. Everybody had a Sharpie and a pen.
And the alphabet down the side of the clipboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your whole narrative was like a block about that long of like a dozen lines was your whole narrative.
Yes. The good old days.
Yeah, that was it. I was a tail end of that. That was like the last probably year of it, like the first year of my career. But I don't know. People get on that thing of the changing of, at work, everything. I don't know how many times we've talked about it, like what's going on, what's the change. And I guess it's like the changing of EMS in that aspect. And I don't ever have a good answer for it. All I can say is like what I've seen in my experience, but I don't know how to make it all fit. I guess nobody does because the problem's not solved, but
yeah,
I just don't know how to. The only thing I think of is like I said, it goes back to me, and this is just my personal opinion of something with management to line employees. So you got like, your accountants who make sure everybody gets paid at the top end. Well, I guess whatever bosses, then accountants, or, ultimate owners, whoever. Then like your accountants, and it goes down to your manager and then to line personnel. And I know the managers in the middle have to bridge both those worlds. And I don't think, and it makes it tough because you don't want to say, all right, y'all got to do this so we can get this much money. Like, you don't want to make it like a pay for play thing. All right, we need some ALS transports because we got to make money. But you kind of want some transparency. And I guess it's like the hard bridging of those two. You're like, you're not being you're not being truthful to me in this manner. But I know you don't want to alter our patient care decisions. But I also see kind of what y'all are doing to get billing reimbursement. You know what I mean? Like, it's like. So
I'll tell you, right, wrong, or indifferent on how we deal with it.
Yeah.
Is, like I said, I truly feel like my job is to make everybody else's job easier.
Well, tell me how you bridge it, because maybe that's what I'm asking.
So so we do auto-generated narratives.
Yeah.
That the only thing I'm pulling over in the auto-generated narrative is the stuff billing needs.
Yeah.
So you're typing and filling your report out regardless.
Yeah.
When you hit auto-generate, the stuff that the billing company needs and we have to have in our reports to get reimbursed auto-generates over.
Yeah.
So you're not having to do any extra steps. And that's how I've looked at trying to make their position easier, their job easier.
Yeah.
Is just trying to bridge the gap that way. And now, hopefully with that new AI on the state system.
I heard vaguely of that, but I haven't heard anything more on it. But I think I heard it casually mentioned, but I'm not in the.
I'm hoping it's going to make their job much easier also.
Yeah.
With auto-generated AI, and then hopefully that stuff will just be faster, quicker.
Yeah.
And they can get back to their downtime.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I like all that. You work there in medical. You know how terrible our charts are. So
you don't. I don't even want to hear. You don't remember Golden Hour?
No. I used to always hear about that. How terrible
man, it was pure nursing charting. But it was like received time date. It received a flight at this time.
Yeah, it wasn't
click, and then you go down to you'd have to retype pilot checked weather, click, pilot accepted flight.
Because it wouldn't populate like the whole thing. You had to do like one thing at a time, wasn't it? Like it would only populate the next section after you filled out that section. So you had to like just inch down, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yes, you type it in, hit enter, and then there'd be another blank box. And that's how your report read. Oh, they were horrible.
I heard people talking about. I mean, I think I heard you and several people when I started flight, like because y'all hadn't had the image trend, I think, all that long when I started.
It was relatively.
And you're like, oh, it's not golden hour.
You ain't lying.
This is horrendous.
It can always be worse, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. It's always be worse. Well, like I was talking about, like my dad. I think about day laboring, and whenever I have a bad shift, I'm like, well, at least I'm not having to sit in a hot house, sanding cabinets, and doing this.
Yeah.
And I got days off where people aren't calling me. So which run your own business and you're a carpenter. You got odd hours. I mean, you're not up late at night, but I guess it's a trade off.
Yeah,
but there's something else I was going to ask you. So you left Terrell, and did you? Yeah, you went to Sumter Regional. Now, when did you start Sumter Regional? Like 05? Because I know when I started fire department, when I started fire department in 05, I do remember seeing you.
It would have been about that time. We were probably Heard County 7 months. We were up there very shortly when we found.
Yeah, because I started fire department in July, or no, maybe I went online. I think I started my shift in July of 05. Anyways, I remember that date. But I do remember seeing you and Tanja.
So it would have been. I would have started in 04.
Yeah.
Would have been 04 when I started.
I don't remember if I told this story on the podcast or I was telling somebody the other day. I may have. And if you heard me, Matt, I don't remember if I told it to Pete or not. But the first time I met Tanja, I don't know if I told this story on the podcast. I don't know. I'll tell it again because it's still funny. I'm trying to get her on. But I was a EMTI. I was in ETI school. Dwayne, the mayor, was my fire captain. And I don't know. You might have been her partner. You might have been there for this. If this jogs your memory, let me know because I'd like to hear the other side of this, what they saw. But there was like a serious patient. I do remember where I told this because I was talking to Tanja about it, and she laughed. She said, I remember that. But it was a serious patient. I don't remember what it was. And Dwayne, I don't know if he did this because I was the new guy or if they were messing with me and Tanja. But they said, get up in there and help her. And when I talked with Tanja, she reminded me, she said, I asked you for a non-rebreather. And you're like, what's that? Where's that? And I remember Tanja saying, give it a hell. Somebody up in there knows what the hell they're doing.
Absolutely.
And Tanja said, I think they did that on purpose to set you up.
Oh, they did, man. I said, they did.
Because I was in EMTI school. Like, get up there and help them. And,
that's so good.
That was my first memory of Tanja. She remembered that when I saw that day at the hospital.
I've worked with Tanja a lot.
Yeah, because she was your partner a while, wasn't she?
Yeah, we didn't have those. We had the crazy schedule.
Yeah.
But, we did. We worked together a lot. We really enjoyed working together. But in the beginning, we did not.
Yeah.
So I was relatively new. She started in 77.
Yeah.
And that was the year I was born, and I'm old.
Mm.
So I'm sitting there, and, man, I'd go to start an IV, and she'd, like, pop the tourniquet. As an elderly patient, got to be gentle, and she'd retie it.
Yeah.
And I finally looked at her one day, and I was like, just get out of the truck, get in the front.
Yeah.
And when I'm ready for you to drive me to the hospital, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
We got to the hospital. She's like, you finally grew a pair. I'm like,
that sounds
just like it was her, man. And she was like, you're going to be all right. How to stand up for yourself. And that was all she did was try to test you.
Yeah. I don't ever remember disliking Tanja. Even when I started there, I was the last employee hired there before they changed services. But I don't ever remember disliking her. And maybe, I'd seen her enough on fire scenes and stuff before I started, with EMS that she knew me. But I remember always liking Tanja. She was always a character. I always liked her.
She is an absolute.
Yeah, she is one of a kind. I love her. The biggest heart, about anybody you'll meet. She got a little hard exterior.
It is, yes.
But she is tender as she can be. I love Tanja.
That's it. Once you crack through that shell, man.
Yeah. For some reason, that has always stuck with me. Get him the hell out of here. And I think that was the first time I ever met her. It was probably whatever. Of course, I was a rookie, but that was. I was like, dang, this lady told me to get the hell out of here. What did I do wrong? Oh, yeah. And I'm pretty sure.
And the fire guys are sitting there go, that went exactly like I thought it was going to go.
Dwayne probably set me up. I need to ask him about that sometime if I ever bump into him again. You remember when you did that? He'd probably laugh about it.
Absolutely.
He'll probably get a good kick out of it.
Some of that stuff, I think, is, I hope they're still doing some of that stuff in EMS.
Yeah.
It's really important to have those types of memories, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, too, is goes to culture of, like, I guess there's some kind of bonding with that, even though it sounds kind of like mean. Like, there is, like, a level of you know, I don't know. I hate to say trust or bonding, but it's, you know, I guess it's minor hazing, but it's not really. I mean, I wasn't like traumatized or anything.
Right.
It was get up there and help. And maybe Dwayne really wanted me to help, but I was of no help. I didn't know anything about that ambulance.
You know, it's funny you start talking about like Tanja.
Yeah.
And we talked about we talked a little bit shortly about like the difference in the cultures between when we got into it, even opposed to when they got into it. To the groups that are getting into it now. And one of the things I always think about is how hard it must have been for them. Because, you know, you remember the hazing days a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, it was predominantly a male profession. Mm-hmm. And those girls that got into it, how hard they were. Yeah. That never quit, the Gina McClungs, you know, the Tanjas, just all these phenomenal ladies.
When did Rusty start? Because she was in it a long time too. Which I know she wasn't. You know, she's not as old as Tanja, but she started in early at Doherty. Her and Tracy and
Shannon.
Yeah, and Shannon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, those women were and are incredibly tough ladies. Who you know, I've always looked up to all of them.
Yeah,
they taught me so much. And
Shannon. I worked with her for my year and a half, 2 years at least.
Yeah, I hope just one day, you know, I can. Man, be brought up in a breath like them.
Yeah.
They were amazing. Amazing women, incredibly tough. Had to put up with a lot of stuff and just fought through it. And came out the other side being legends. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I always loved Tanja because you knew exactly where you stood with her, whether you wanted to know that or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She was not scared to tell you. She was not scared to tell you if you were doing something.
I think she honestly felt like it was her job
to
tell you where you were at.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
What are you doing? See, there was no mystery. Had asked Tanja her opinion on what you were doing or any situation. So I think that's why I like Tanja. Because I'm a little more, I try to be a little more professional. But not that Tanja was unprofessional, but she was very direct.
Yeah. You know, one of my best friends in the world who's a medic and he's a nurse now. And man, I love him to pieces. He's one of my favorite people on this planet. But boy, you always know exactly where you're going to stand with him.
Who's that?
Oh, Brian Williamson.
Oh yeah.
I love that guy, man. But there's no question, there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
I remember him kicking me out of the back of a truck once. Tell me to get in the front of the driver's seat. I'll let you know when I'm ready. Oh, it's so good, man. We were partners for a while in Doherty County, and we're like family. He's a pretty amazing guy. So.
Yeah, I worked with Brian and Lee. He was a partner for a while, and at times I would like to get him riled up, which didn't take a lot sometimes to get him riled up and ranting about stuff. Because I am a little brother. My sister's 2 years older than me, so even now I'm 44. I still have like the little brother syndrome of aggravating because I'm going to enjoy something. Maybe it might be at somebody's minor expense of whatever, but I'm going to have my fun. And I not that I want it to be at somebody else's expense, but sometimes, you got to aggravate people. Like, it's for some reason, I guess it's coming from little brotherness. There's sometimes it's more fun to me to get somebody wound up on the topic, that they're hot about. Bam, did you hear about that or this?
just to play devil's advocate and sit on the other side.
Man, I don't know if I heard that now. I don't know how I believe that. I can't believe that now, on whatever it is. But, I don't know. I always attribute just like I call it, little brother syndrome. You're just going to poke at stuff. What's going on here? Let me poke this a little bit.
So can I ask you a question?
What's that?
So I think this is phenomenal what you're doing.
Yeah.
I really do, man. I think sitting us down and having conversations, but kind of what was your inspiration for this, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I can't really say, I'm trying to think. There wasn't like a pivotal moment where it's like, this is what I'm going to do. It was kind of like a realization that there is a high density of long-term career EMS people around here that nobody knows. Well, people know about. Us and that have been doing it for a while know about. And there's a whole just generational knowledge, like people like Tanner have been there since like 77, that's gonna at one point disappear. Because we're not getting any younger. Hell, I'm 44.
Yeah.
And these people were doing it for a long time when I got in, nearly 20 years ago. And like we're talking about the culture of how it was then, and I'm not trying to be super reminiscent about the good old days, because like they say, you never know you're in the good old days till you're in the next days. Everybody's gonna have a good old days. Somebody's gonna talk about this time right now when they started 20 years from now as the good old days,
right?
But it's just like the knowledge that they possess, and like you're talking about, like Tanja and the women of EMS back then, and how tough it was, and you had to be tough because it was a man's field.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that, and I would like to document this, and not so much like clinical knowledge. Hell, there's so many good clinical podcasts out there that I'm not going to be an expert on, and I probably am not going to go deep on any clinical stuff per se, because somebody will go, oh, there's this study that says that ketamine's better here than etomidate, and I saw that there was a 0.2. I'm not going to know that. I mean, there's podcasts for that, and there's places for that, and we try to be a science-based field to further patient care. So I feel like some of that is going to be dated material, because if I get into some kind of study on etomidate now, a year from now, whatever, somebody will change. But
just to caveat off that real quick, like the new AHA changes about slapping your back for an adult, and I hear these people go around going, "Grandma was always right."
Look, I'm waiting for cardiac thumps to come back.
Absolutely,
I'm waiting. Somebody said that years ago. Hey, it'll come around again. So.
It does, man. It's crazy, but a lot of it does.
But I kind of feel like all this generational knowledge of all these people here in South Georgia have been rural providers and had to be like single ambulance counties doing all the stuff they've had to do. And it's nothing against big city departments, but I feel like this is a unique situation where we have all these people that have spent 30, 40 years in EMS. And it's just like, I don't even want to call it knowledge. I mean, it is knowledge, but I think when I say knowledge, people want to think of like book knowledge, like 1 + 1 = 2, like to some oversimplified. It's more of just like surviving a career in EMS and what drove you when you probably made nothing. I mean, I'm assuming it was patient care, and just like a drive, a mission, to help others to some degree. I mean, I think mine is now. I can't claim that when I started. I didn't see 9/11, and have an altruistic aspect. I was lazy, I said, I can work 10 days a month and I can play golf or work out or do whatever I want to do. As a single man, I was very, had very selfish intentions, but it was just kind of the realization that I had all this supply of people around here. Not that it's never ending, but I think that these are stories that need to be heard and recorded and documented. And I kind of feel like to some degree it's timeless information, and I want to record it. And I wasn't always a religious person. You know me when I was pretty damn atheist. But I hate to get too testimonial. I'm not, because it's not that I'm ashamed of being Catholic or Christian. It's just that I think can turn some people off that this is like ethereal, like fluttery, like it's not, what I mean? Like, I don't want to say like God gave me a calling, even though I think there was some form of a calling to do this and inspiration. There's one person I know I want to talk to who I badgered enough about it. Well, a couple I badgered, but I know he's a person I want to talk to directly that I've been wanting to talk to. That's always been on my mind since I thought about doing this. And I don't know why, but I'm waiting to talk to him and find out, because I think whatever will present it. But anyways, I just felt like that was an important piece of like record keeping, I guess. Like it's going to disappear, and I don't want people to not know like kind of how EMS was. It started, and these people that were around and have spent 40 years treating thousands and thousands of people in South Georgia and doing what needed to be done. And maybe part of that is going to like, I don't know, maybe one part of it is like bringing like a little bit of that culture back or attitude. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't tell you an ultimate mission other than I want to talk to these people, and that's it. I want to record it. I mean, somebody texted me, well, yesterday, day before, about it. And I said, look, I have always been a person who can run my mouth. I can talk to that can, to some degree. I'm sure there's more people that can talk more than me, but I've always been blessed with the ability to just run my mouth and talk about whatever. And I guess to some degree relate. And I love telling stories, but a lot of times I think of most of us too in EMS want to tell stories to relate. And in the form of this podcast, I love to tell stories to reminisce, to open people up. And I think because, not that I'm the only person who can do that, but because I can talk, I think I have a kind of a unique position between where I am, like in the world, located here in South Georgia, and the people I have around, and the ability to run my mouth, that I can talk through people and get their stories out and let them see what I see in people. Because, not everybody I know is a person I want to talk to. We all know somebody that's been there for 30 years that I don't want to talk to on here. I don't think they're a good person to talk to. But there's a lot of them around. And I want to bring that out of them, what I see in them. Not just that they're the best paramedic ever or best EMTI or whatever, but it's hard for me to put into words, to be honest. Like, it's just...
I love the talking about the record keeping. I think it's phenomenal, because a lot of these people, once we're retired, nobody's going to know of a Tanja. Nobody's going to know of a Pete. No. Right? And those are people that need to be remembered for their absolute amazingness.
Yeah. And that's like, I told Pete on there, I was like, I don't know anybody that dislikes you. And anybody outside of EMS would know Pete like that. And I think he's a great example. Even then, when he's retired, he's like, I'm going to miss it. And if Pete doesn't still, if listening to that podcast and just hearing Pete talk to those that don't know Pete, that's how he is day in, day out. That's how you meet him on the street, and Pete he's like, obviously not going to talk to you as much as he did to me, but about anything, if you talk to him, Pete is that way. And inside and out of work, that's how, like, Pete is. And I respect the tar out of him for that. And I think that needs to be expressed, is like that attitude in EMS. And he's like, I'm going to miss it. I miss the people. I'm going to miss the job and the people. And, and I guess, I told my wife this the other day. I said, I think a lot of these people I want to talk to, and the people, I guess in general, people I respect, I see the things in them that I wish I had in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
Larry, the first person I had on. Larry is probably one of the most honest, loyal people I know. Like, Larry is Larry. Whether you like it or not, he can't help it. That's who he is. He cares. He loves storm chasing. He's crazy as hell handling snakes. I'm not going to do that. Not necessarily like I want to be able to handle snakes like him, but that man is loyal, and he's, it's just who he is. And I respect that. He can't put on a front. It's just who he is, and Pete, I guess maybe that's a similarity. Pete is who Pete is. Pete can't put on a front. And just the goodness of Pete, I respect. So he's also a great provider, but that bedside manner he has, and nurses, everybody else he talks to, he's the same dang way, and I respect the tar out of him for that. And as a leader, like I said, you would never ask anything out of anybody else you wouldn't do yourself or have a problem with. And I don't think I've ever seen Pete mad. Like, maybe I've seen him slightly miffed or irritated. But have you ever seen Pete mad? Like, I don't think I've ever seen him grumpy. I don't know if I've ever seen him angry, per se, which maybe that's all relative to levels of angriness. But I can't imagine ever seeing Pete throw something like out of anger. Like, I don't think that would ever happen.
One of the things I always remember or think about with Pete is, like, I have people that are friends of mine that, work for the hospitalist at the local hospital. And they're like, hey, man, you seen Pete lately? God, I love that guy. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
From the musician community that, you get some friends, and they're just like, man, everybody talks so highly.
Yeah.
And he just always brightens the room up when he's around.
And there was it might have been Chris Williamson or one of the podcasters. I listen to just a variety of stuff on the long drives I do doing workovers. And it might have been him. but he said, I think it was him, said, I have not yet grown wise enough to take pleasure in the small things. And I think Pete's always been somebody to me, and I probably maybe should have asked him specifically. He's always seemed somebody that's been wise enough to take pleasure in the small things.
I think perfectly describes exactly.
And I love that about Pete, like he's like, I don't need much. I just need my harmonicas, and I can't think of, there's not much better, I think, could make you a person. Well, there are things, but that's a great thing to be as a person, just the not wanting too much. This is all I need. To
find joy in what you need.
Yeah.
Maybe not what you want, but find joy in what you need.
Yeah.
He needs his music and he finds joy in it. It's simple things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I try to tell myself that now that I'm over 40, it's, when I was younger, it was definitely not that way, but I've got better about that, especially having kids. And I want to be there more and enjoy the stuff with them. So I curtail my working to a degree. But I want to be present, like you can be there, but not present. I don't want to be thinking about the job or whatever else is going on. You want to be present for your family, kids, or who you're talking to. And I guess I try to think about that too now, like whether it be here talking to you or whoever, I try to be present, in the moment.
Absolutely.
And there's a prayer I like to say every morning, and I don't think it's necessarily a Catholic prayer. I don't know if the origins are there or whatever, but it's a prayer that goes like, today is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or use it for good. But what I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, be the beginning of a new day. Now I'm drawing a blank under pressure. I can waste it or use it for good. But now I'm drawing a blank on it. But oh man, I put myself under pressure and now I can't think of the rest of it. When tomorrow comes, a new day, let it be good, not evil. And basically, like, let the sacrifice of today be worth it. But anyways, it just keeps in mind of, like, you're blessed to have this day. I can't remember this prayer. I say it about every morning, to myself at least. But it's a good prayer I like. If I say nothing else in the morning, at least it puts in perspective, today is the beginning of a new day. And it starts over. At least you got to wake up this morning. Which, I guess I kind of, have a little bit of health history that, for my cancer and stuff, that I was blessed enough. I'm probably one of the few people say blessed enough to have cancer. But blessed enough to have gone through a situation where it's probably changed my perspective to a degree. Which I probably needed, I want to say God gave me cancer, but I think he probably knew, it's probably going to be good for him, So I'm not upset I had cancer. It probably changed I know it changed my life for the better.
Wait to see how it comes out the backside of this. It's going to be pretty impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's it. I just want to talk to people like yourself. And I guess it's EMS based because that's been my whole career. But I don't know if that's who I ever talk to. I'm sure I might talk to anybody I know, police, fire, or whatever, anybody that, like, in that field that I can relate to, at least to bring that out of them. Like, I don't know if I'm going to talk to an accountant, really. And, like, I hate to keep going back to accountants. I need to pick on somebody else. But you know what I mean? At least something to relate to and to bring out of them what I see in them. Which, if that field dries up and after 20 podcasts, I don't know anybody else to talk to, I'm not just going to, like, start putting out stuff to put out stuff. Like, that's not my goal.
Well, I think what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah.
I hope it really catches wind. I've listened to both the ones you put out so far. Yeah. I'll probably skip your third guest because he's going to be pretty bad. But other than that, man, I'm all in. I sat there and smiled.
Yeah.
And it was just listening to Pete talk and you talk and just stories and just it makes me remember stories that I had. I've never worked with Larry.
Yeah.
But knowing Pete and knowing you, and just it made me think of a lot of memories.
Yeah. Look, and I thought about you coming on. I thought about that broken leg, and I was like, I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
That's funny because the story I remember about you.
Oh Lord, what's that?
We were in Lee County, and man, we were way back in the woods at a trailer.
Yeah.
And there's this big old dog sitting on that porch.
I forgot about that.
And I'm out there just hitting the horn. I'm like, oh, anybody that's rode with me know I don't do big dogs. I own a big dog. I love my big dog, but big dogs I don't know, I don't do. So I'm like, I'm not getting out. And you're just like, man, it'll be fine. You walked up there, did that Crocodile Dundee, little look at him, petted him, and knocked on the door. Nobody came. Nobody was there. We went on about our business, but it was just, I'll never forget that. I was like, man, if you get attacked, you're on your own.
Look, I don't know. I grew up around dogs and big dogs and stuff, and I always know, they say dogs smell fear, which I don't know how legitimate it is, but that's always to me. They smell fear. So if you act scared, they're going to feed off it. Don't run. You ain't going to outrun a dog unless you can, unless you're like 8 foot away from something you can hide or, whatever, get in a car or something. But you're not going to outrun them, I'm not giving advice on this, so please nobody do this. But my experience is either stand your ground, or if you think the dog is bluffing, like he's just protecting his turf, you can charge at him, like, and his ass will scatter. Now, I am not telling anybody to charge a pit bull, but that's in my experience. But I think that also goes to like demeanor and stuff. So if they know you're not messing around, they're not going to mess around. But also, if I'm not the size I am, if I'm a 90-pound kid, I would not suggest you charge a 90-pound Rottweiler. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I'm sure there's a size and intimidation factor to it. But that's just, how I've known to, like, that they'll smell it. They can sniff it on you. I don't know if it's a hormone or what, or they can tell your heartbeat, but they just know you're scared. And I guess, I don't know, I've been around enough dogs, you can tell when they're just like being territorial and like, oh, this is my turf, get off my turf kind of thing. Not like a rabid dog or something. But that's funny. I forgot about all that.
Oh, man, that's one of the first things that popped in my head. It's funny, those memories.
So, like, how is it being, I know you talked a little bit about being a director now. Like, and that's, well, I guess that's really your first office job per se, huh?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I guess coming from the field and now being in a leadership position, was it different than you expected? Like, is there like, you're kind of like, I kind of know what this is going to be? Or is it like, oh man, I didn't know it was like all this?
So have you ever heard of pretender syndrome?
Yeah, whatever, like they talk about the imposter syndrome or whatever?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That was my first 6 months. It honestly was. It's like, what do I know about this?
Yeah.
One of the things I mentioned, like the first 3 months I worked there, I was like, don't expect a lot of change.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, I learned from my father, and one of his famous sayings was, all change is hard. Good change is hard. Bad change is hard. It's all stressful.
And EMS doesn't like any change.
Absolutely. the two things we hate. Change in the way things are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to complain about. But, so it just, in the beginning, it was really difficult. I felt like I didn't belong. I also did not know a lot of people in that service. There was a couple people that I had taught and knew through the education and working through the schools in the local colleges. But man, it really was very much of a pretend thing. And, I kind of feel like I'm starting to get my groove going a good bit. I've been there about a year and 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And
man, it's been that long. Man, time flies. I didn't think it had even been a year yet.
I talked to my wife about this. And if any of my guys listen to this, it's not a cut. And I'm not telling you not to do this. Yeah. But it's like I struggle because a lot of times in the mornings I'm real busy. Yeah. You're going through emails you missed through the night. You're trying to prepare the day. Yeah. What meetings are when. And I get a lot of people funnel into my office, sitting down, laughing, joking, cutting up. And it's like, I don't ever want that end to go. Yeah. But boy, I struggle sometimes in the morning with just time. Yeah. And I don't want them to feel like I don't have time for them, but sometimes it's a little rough to juggle in the mornings. But to answer your question, I really enjoy the leadership part of things. Yeah. And probably one of the biggest things is, I enjoy taking care of people. Yeah. It's my way to take care of people without being in the back of an ambulance, taking care of people.
So coming from somebody who spent a long time, I guess being on a line, whether that be on a truck or in a helicopter, being first line, doing patient care. I guess because I know, and I guess I kind of, mentioned this, hinted at it earlier, of like the issues I see with management. And I'm, and I know that's all of my, not all of it, probably a good percentage of that is my perception of what I see, like of bosses and what I'm allowed to see from, like say like the money side of like, because
Right.
I mean, you work for a service probably like everywhere else now that has to make money to survive. You got to pay people, like it's not subsidized by the county or some big entity. You know what I mean? So I guess what's something you can relate to, or at least express now that you've been a long time on the ground working or in the air working, and now that you're a managerial aspect to maybe bridge that gap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You've seen both sides, I guess is what I'm saying. So what's something you can help out with?
Like one of the things I tell the guys is, man, I've been doing this for 21 years.
Yeah.
Before 22 years before I got into management. So
yeah.
I know what you're going through. And that was like one of the things I talked about with, our reporting system.
Yeah.
I always hated it when it just felt like, we got to do better with this, so do better with this.
Yeah.
And if we don't, they yell at you. And I don't like that model. I take it personally and say, what can I do to make it easier for them?
Yeah.
So they can get the information that I'm asking them to get. Where they can focus just or as much as they can just on patient care.
Yeah.
And, we've got an interesting setup. We don't get the insurance information, because of the system we work for.
Oh, yeah.
We just get an ID number when we arrive at the hospital or the ER. So for them, that's all they have to put in.
Yeah, that's way easier.
And then the billing stuff is, auto-generated.
Yeah.
So most of it that they have to do anyway and that they've been doing for years, instead of them having to put it there and then put it again in the narrative for the billing, for getting paid from billing.
Yeah.
It's just they hit auto-generate and it comes in. And that's my goal. And I let them do and be involved in it. So that's another big thing, I think, when we separate ourselves, from them. I'm going to do this, so you have to do this, instead of, people that want to help and are eager. Here, why don't you help me create this?
Yeah.
Or why don't you go with it? An example is we have several different auto-generated narratives for what it is we need.
Yeah.
So like if you 1022, they've got a narrative for that. If you back up, backed up, type in med 2, and you're done, right? Like it's really as simple, quick, and easy as I can see it can be. But when people come to me with ideas, or they want something, I'm like, absolutely, but let's get involved in it and do it together.
Yeah. And I've always heard that too. Well, I'm sure I wasn't employing this idea when I was younger, but I've always heard, management say like, well, don't come to me with a complaint. You can come to me with a complaint, but you better at least have a solution too. Whether it's good or bad, don't just come to me and whine. Come to me with like, okay, this is whatever. This is blue, but this is how I think we should make it red. You know what I mean? Like, don't come to me with just a complaint.
Right.
And
yeah.
And I guess that's something which I'm sure when I was younger I did. But even now, I'm older. I don't like to come to a superior with a problem I can't solve myself, which probably most of that is because of like the headache of involving other people. Like, I can just handle this myself, which I guess could be bad, but...
Well, one of the things about involving others into that process is, you're creating the next wave of leaders.
Yeah.
One of the hard things that we see is, you're a paramedic and you're a great paramedic.
Yeah.
So because you're a great paramedic, now you're an EMS director.
Yeah.
When you don't know anything about leading people, or, we need to be fostering. I always tell folks, man, I want to foster 2 or 3 of my replacements as we're going through the whole way.
Yeah.
And I tell the supervisors, you should be fostering, your replacement.
Yeah.
You should be teaching your replacement.
Yeah.
And that gets ownership. And it also gets where, the old EMS side of things, and I know you can think about some old supervisors and bosses that would try to keep all the information to themselves.
Yeah, it's like it's their power, like they're Gollum or something.
So I can't be replaceable.
Yeah.
If you fire me, this is what all you lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it as, man, what if we all knew how to do it?
Yeah.
You know how effective we would be as a team, how much easier everybody's life would be.
Yeah.
If we fostered these people in to know all the jobs there and be able to do these things. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Like I said from the beginning, man, I'm absolutely blessed with a great staff that, from my view, appear that they're buying into what it is that myself and the director are doing.
Yeah. And I've had the discussion, people have asked me like if I wanted to go up in any kind of leadership role, and I don't, because I don't know because when I started fire department, it was very much, like traditional fire department.
Yes.
And I think I still have ingrained like traditional values to a degree of mine. I guess I'm going to say my interpretation of leadership.
Right.
And I don't know if that necessarily fits into like a corporate structure. And this is an example of when I was doing a supervisory role. You probably know this, or maybe you've heard this, or maybe I told you. I forget so much. It's amazing I remember so much too. But there was a person on a shift I had that had an issue. And I came to my superior with said issue. And I said, hey, look, I'm telling you this. The people on my shift trust me enough to let me know this. But I'm bringing it to you so you being above me can at least talk to them, try to quell this problem, whatever. It's above me, and I know what the issue is, and I'm bringing it to you. Because my shift have been nice enough to tell me this, because they trust me, that I'm not going to like rat them out. Like, hey, we're just telling you this not to gripe, but you need to know because we want everything to be better. And the response I got was, well, who's telling you this gossip? I need to know. I said, well, I don't think it's gossip. I'm telling you this, as a heads up to you. Like, I'm trying to help you out. Like, you need to be aware of this. And that was the response I got, which was very, I was taken aback. Like, and I was kind of, I don't want to say I was punished, but I was reprimanded for not revealing like my source on something. And then it wound up happening, and I never heard anything about it, which was one of the reasons I left there. But like, it always struck me weird. Like, I'm trying to help you out and make this place better, and all you're worried about is the short end. Like, you think people are gossiping too much. Like, why don't you try to talk to that issue directly?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that always bugged me. And that's why I said like a corporate structure. I don't know if it's like I'm dated to a degree. Like, I don't, and this is putting very broadly and exaggeratively, I don't think I could ever be like a yes man, which I think everybody's a yes man. But you know what I mean? Like, I very much will tell you my thoughts on something, especially, and especially if I think it's wrong. And you can prove me wrong. I'm like, yeah, I was wrong about that. But I don't know if I'd fit into that. I don't know if times have changed, and maybe I need to change. And maybe that's not how it. Or maybe that's how it doesn't need to be anymore. But does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And like, I guess that kind of bothers me. Like, I don't know if I'd fit in well in like the new structure of EMS from that aspect as a leader. I don't know, and that's what I wonder about. Like, I was like, I don't think I'd be good with that. I think I need to stay what I'm doing. And not that you can reveal everything to subordinates, but it's just like that difficult situation. I was like, I want to look out for people too and make their job easier. And I guess I kind of take that from Pete to a degree. Pete would definitely be a buffer for his subordinates, and he expressed that in the interview. And I always respected that. And I think maybe some people today need to hear that. Like, being a buffer to your crews or people below you, yeah, you're going to catch some flack on stuff, but it's for the right reasons. And, and if they're not doing something, entirely wrong, I think it's good to have that trust and build that relationship. But I don't know. I don't even know where my greater point was. It's like, I guess, of like supervisory roles in today's age of EMS. And maybe it's just locally here around us, in my own personal sphere.
I think that's what a lot of it is.
Yeah.
I've got some great friends that work up in near Atlanta.
Yeah.
That are over, a couple hundred folks.
Yeah.
And they talk about, they just talk about cool things.
Yeah.
They talk about believing in their people.
Yeah.
Setting things up to be successful. So I used to teach cadaver labs. Mm-hmm. So I travel around the state with an amazing group of folks through the Georgia Association of EMS, and we would go around and teach. And I really, me, I believe in education. Mm-hmm. I believe in knowledge and passing it on. So I sent a few guys to go up to a conference. Mm-hmm. And so they're in this conference, and the first night they're there, and I've got to get up the next morning at like 5, and it's midnight. Or no, I've got to be there at 5. I've got to get up at like 3:30 to get ready, and it's midnight, and my phone rings. And those fools have been drinking. So I'm mad, man. I'm mad. I stayed up for another hour just being mad about, did you not respect me enough to call me in that manner? So I'm sitting there and we're prepping the body the next morning. And the gentleman I'm talking to, he's an EMS chief in a massive service just outside of Atlanta. And I'm telling him a story, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. He said, you want my opinion? I said, absolutely. Because I do cherish this guy's opinion. He's like, hey, man, you should feel pretty privileged that you've got guys that trust you enough that will pick up the phone and call you. Not every guy, not every boss has that relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? That's a conversation of, why don't you make it 11 o'clock next time? Maybe not midnight. You know what I mean? But, I went from that whole traditional way of going, I can't, somebody can't call me at this time, especially for nothingness. And the fact that, you're building relationships with people.
Yeah.
And relationships is, I think, where you can make some really big differences and strides when it comes to department, because it makes people buy in and own it.
Yeah.
So they're important.
Yeah.
And that if they mess up, because he did apologize, I was like, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
But I was like, he didn't have to hear about it 15 times. He didn't get wrote up for it. He was able to come in and go, man, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody ever wants to work where they have to feel like, they got to cover their butt.
Right.
Like they're watching their back. Like if they make a small mistake, they're going to get in trouble. I think knowing that they have somebody who sees the greater value in them, that, and I think like Pete, like the buy-in of that, like, okay, he's going to have my back. I'll do more for him.
Yeah.
And
you've worked with those people.
Yeah.
That walk around and can quote policy.
Yeah.
And those are people to me that like, you must hate your job.
Yeah.
You must be horribly unhappy here or do a lot of stupid things if you know every bit of the policy in a policy book.
Yeah.
I kind of go on the, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, and it's bad too. You'll get some places where you have to know it because that's become like the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that's, in my opinion, equally as bad. Like it's like kind of damages morale. Like, well, better watch this. What's the policy say we got to do on it? Like there's no kind of leeway gray area. And I guess it's maybe today's culture of so many cameras and everything around. And like, I don't know. It's just changed, and I guess it goes back to the greater thing like we talked about earlier about culture, and kind of, I guess I'm doing this podcast to a little bit to like talking to the older people. Like I don't really know a pathway, not necessarily get back to there, but to have some of that back. Because it does seem like, it's all changed. It's not so much, and like I say, we hate change, but it doesn't seem to be like a better change. I would say it's kind of obvious because EMS is in a drastic shortage that's affecting everybody. I guess it's got a little bit better, but thanks to COVID. But I think COVID probably just accentuated the problem. I don't think COVID created it.
I would agree.
I think COVID brought it to light.
That is exactly what I say. Everybody talks. I hear a lot of folks talk about how COVID ruined EMS.
Yeah.
I think EMS was already ruined. We were already in a massive shortage. We all worked 2 jobs, and we smiled about it.
Yeah.
Because it was just the norm of what we did.
Mm-hmm. It just accentuated it. All like the problems in EMS came to light, and the people that were like borderline or whatever, like they were out, or said, hey, this was enough. This is kind of like the last straw that broke the camel's back, or, I'm done.
One of the things that I've talked with some other local directors about is just when I fire somebody, and, it comes an incredible responsibility on myself and others, but it's like if I fire somebody just because they can't listen, they won't listen, they make bad decisions, they're not a good employee, they can't show up on time. The problem is we're in such a shortage. I go one county over, I got a job.
Yeah.
And there has to be some accountability where we go, where'd you work? He fired you? Nah, I'm probably not going to hire you.
Yeah.
And then start where these people can't just jump job to job.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of what we see.
Yeah, I didn't know all that. Which I mean makes sense, but I'm not I'm not involved with that anymore like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff's in the flight realm.
Yeah.
Base to base.
Yeah. Or service to service,
Yeah.
Get gone from one provider, hit up another provider because you got the experience, so they'll probably hire you.
And you got that, those letters behind your name.
Yeah. What was that? What's his name? Oh, that came out, that lady from Oklahoma that was stealing the narcs and all the drugs. Did you hear about that?
I did not.
She was a flight medic. Yeah, flight medic. And she'd already been caught. And I don't know all the details. I know what I read and heard, but she'd already been in trouble for stealing narcs, then got hired again in another service. I think she got fired from the first one or two. And then she was a director of another service and working as a flight medic and was stealing narcs again from both of them and got in trouble. And I'm like, how did she get a director's job? Like, after you been fired from two places for narcs, and then you also worked again as a flight medic with narcs. Like, I was like, how did that not get known? Or did they know and just not care? Like, because this person had letters behind their name or something, And I mean, maybe, we want to think the best, that people change their ways. And I'm not saying you can't, have a second chance.
100%.
But maybe she fell back into it. I don't know. I don't know the whole situation. All I know is what I read online and heard online. I'm not friends with her or anything. But it makes me wonder. I don't think anybody should be punished indefinitely for their sins, but
absolutely
it's just,
not. But
it raises questions.
If anybody in this world would be punished for their sins, I would still be looking for a job.
Oh, look, me too. Look, like I said, there's a
far from perfect.
Yeah,
but when you have the when so I guess the way I look at it is there was a shift.
Yeah,
and the paradigm shift really went from the services had the power.
Yeah.
To the employees had the power.
This is true.
And I think when that paradigm shifted, I think we have to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
I don't think either one having all the power is the right thing. I think somewhere in the middle where people and employees have power and responsibility, and management does too, and they work together opposed to working separately, and I have it all or you have it all.
And I wonder, now that you say that, it makes me wonder, because I've said before that it seems like a lot of times the policies and stuff you see, and I'm not necessarily talking about my company, but kind of EMS as a general, that a lot of the stuff they do seems like short-sighted. Like, it's not like long-term, what are you doing? Like, do you see like the long-term implications of what you're doing? Like, it seems like, what are you doing? And I wonder if some of that is trying to get back some measure of power towards like the company or whatever having the power, not the employees. Like, and do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because I'll see stuff or hear stuff, and maybe it's not stuff, and sometimes it's stuff I'm directly involved or have knowledge of to some degree. But it's like, this is short-sighted. Why is this going on? And it's like, I don't understand. Is this just like some kind of power grab? Like, oh, look at me? Like, it makes no sense. Like, you're long-term, you're diminishing the morale or whatever's going on.
Right.
Who wants to deal with that? You don't see the long-term implications. And I kind of wonder, it's like, well, maybe now that you say that, now I'm wondering is...
but they used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You've worked places,
Yeah.
2 boots on the ground till 5 o'clock, only TV shows on at lunch, and it's going to be the news.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're working, this is your third day straight, you can't lay down until 5 or 8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have all these places that weren't. And do I think we need to go, you can come in fresh and go straight to bed? No. But there does have to be some happy medium and some common sense. And I think it's the overwriting of policies.
Yeah.
Somebody did this, we got to write a policy.
Oh, yeah.
That can never happen again.
Yeah.
And now, exactly like you said, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So.
Yeah, that used to be, where we both used to work, used to be the thing. Oh, one person did it, so now it's policy. Like, why don't you just address that one person for the dumb thing they knew they shouldn't have done?
So I got to tell another story, man.
Go ahead.
Another story. It for years and years and years, it was about, this was EMS Management 101.
Yeah.
Small service, both of us have worked there. One of the guys was taking the ambulance to run down to the store real quick.
Yeah.
Riding by himself, right? It was kind of an acceptable thing there. You get a call, you go back and pick your patient or your partner up at the station.
Yeah.
And anyway, he shoots down to the store to go get some whatever, go get lunch. And he's got the windows down and the radio's blaring, and it's hip hop music. And I've got nothing against hip hop, love hip hop, but it's just, he's blaring it out of this. So a citizen calls and complains. And instead of, other than having a quick word with the guy, all the radios got taken out of all the ambulances. Ugh. It's like, let me fix everybody, And it's like, why would we do that? Why not just say, hey, man.
Yeah.
This
is poor judgment on your part.
Yes. All right. I understand it was harmless in what you thought.
Yeah.
But we can't do this.
Yeah.
And let's not do it again. Probably never would have happened again.
Yeah.
But instead, everybody has to get punished.
Yeah. I never understood that either. It's like, yeah, we all know not to do that. I guess he didn't have that. He didn't know we all knew that, or you weren't supposed to do that. Which I don't remember that incident, but I could just totally see. I've seen many things like that. I mean, I think we all have. But it's stuff like that. Okay, let's treat the short-sighted issue. Like, I guess maybe it's like definitively you can have on paper. Oh, we've solved this problem.
Yes,
but at what cost? Like, okay, let's take all the radios out. Why? And like, I don't know. I feel like it's some measure of like, well, I'm not going to let them take any responsibility. I take responsibility, and I'm going to take all these radios out. Like, let's not make them an adult, and if they do it again, they know what the punishment's going to be. Let's punish everybody else.
Yeah. I wasn't even at work that day. Why did I get punished?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think that was me. But I guess the greater point of like, it's just like the short-sightedness of stuff like that that I just don't get. Not that if I was ever a supervisor, I never did anything stupid or wrong. I'm sure I did. I'm sure my short time, I'm sure somebody could tell me something. I have no doubt there's endless stupid stories. I talk to people that could tell about me. But
I'll tell you one of my favorite things I like to tell my people I work with.
Yeah.
Is I tell them probably more than I should. But I'm like, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I messed up.
Yeah.
And for years, it was almost like as you were management, you couldn't say those words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I didn't say why. I mess up all the time. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And I walk in there and just tell folks, like, hey, I saw this happened.
Yeah.
It was honestly 3 or 4 days ago. We had this long conversation. I was a little upset with an employee. And when I found out what happened, I was like, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I totally misread that, totally missaw it. Mm-hmm. I apologize, but I'm going to let you know. And, he was like, man, thanks.
Look, and that does mean a ton to people, just a level of professionalism and that somebody can see you as a real person that understands and not just, a boss, I always specify between, boss and leader. Like boss is like a title.
Yeah.
A leader is somebody who will lead you and has your back. I don't know if that's anybody else's definitions, but in my mind, I guess it's like that old meme or something, cartoon you've always seen, like the boss has the whip, the leader's at the front, helping everybody else out. And, that's always come to mind to me, the difference. Like, like I was earlier, like a title, the boss is a title.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else when I was going to go from there. I don't know. Mine went blank.
Well, I will say this.
Yeah.
I have utterly enjoyed myself today, man.
Yeah.
And I would love to come back on if you ever.
Yeah.
I don't know what world we talk about, man, but we talk about it again. It's just, I've really enjoyed it. I think what you're doing is something absolutely phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
I think it's much needed. And I think it's going to kind of keep some of the heritage.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, I don't know. I just want to talk to people. I really have no agenda. Like somebody asked me, I want to talk to, well, what do you want to talk about? I said, what do you want to talk about? I said, the basics I want to get across are just who you are, kind of probably where you grew up, just a basic background. But I said, other than that, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I said, if you want to talk about something I have no idea about, I'm probably not going to be of use. Like, I'm not going to be able to conversate if you want to talk about ping pong or something.
Yeah.
But I said, I'll talk about it. If you got something you want to talk about that's within the realm and not like you got an axe to grind. I don't want to get into all drama. That's not the point of this.
Yeah. Like we talked about before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
For those we probably had a whole other episode of podcast where we started this podcast. We probably talked for an hour and a half and great conversation. And when we were about to start, he asked me, is there anything? I said, you asked me anything.
Yeah. I
said, man, I might not answer it.
Yeah.
Because there are some things going on now in the state of EMS that I really feel like need to be addressed, but I'm not in a position or a place where I can address them.
Yeah. And that's kind of a thing. Like I want it to be, open, but I also know that, like I don't, some people don't want to mention their service, and I try to keep stuff kind of vague on that, but if there is like a sensitive subject that you just don't want to talk about at all, I don't want to broach that, unless it's something I really want to ask you about, which I don't know what that would be, but we could talk about that before. But I try to keep it like loose. Like I started with Pete, we were talking about trucks. I just started.
I thought that was funny. I was like these are two car guys talking about car things.
Look, and people was like, I didn't know I was going to be able to talk so much. He's like, I haven't talked that much one time in a long time. I was like, look, you can talk, Pete. I can talk. I'll talk to you about whatever. Yeah. I'll just start it, which I kind of feel like, and I've told people that before, or I was talking with somebody who asked me about it. I said, how many times have you been in a room, especially with like two senior EMS people or fire people that are just talking, and you're just a fly on the wall of the conversation and you enjoyed it, whatever they were talking about. I said, and you felt like you learned something from it. Maybe out of the 100 things they talked about, the one thing, you took home. I said, I had many of those throughout my career in fire and EMS and flight. There's just, and not even necessarily EMS related. It's just like the knowledge of it and the stuff they've acquired. Like I've just enjoyed being part of those conversations. Well, whether I was directly or not, or just like I said, being a fly on the wall as a rookie, hearing people talk.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. There was nothing better at the firehouse and, sitting around and jabber-jawing back and forth or seeing people give each other crap.
They all laugh at me over there where I work because I love that too. Like that's such a part of it. That's what makes EMS and fire and public safety is camaraderie. The conversations, laughing, joking, and I'll be in there. And then there's always one or two of the guys that always say something horribly inappropriate. And I'm always like, didn't hear it, headed back to the office, guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for that 5 minutes.
That's a problem of being the boss now, I guess.
I look at him, I'm like, man, y'all going to end up in HR.
But that's the nature of EMS to a degree. There's somebody's going to keep pushing it till they get like us. I'm like, all right, we got to go back, guys.
Yeah.
Go back down, take it back down to here, this level. And people always say like the dark humor of EMS, but and it alleviates it to a degree. I don't think I've ever been in somebody so much in like the dark humor, like I don't even really want to give examples. Like there are some dark humor to cope with bad situations. Like you went on a serious call, and I don't know how to. I feel like it's going to come across very morbid or something to somebody who watches who's not EMS. And you know what I'm trying to get across.
Absolutely.
But I'm trying to what's a way I can express that to somebody who's not EMS that doesn't sound terrible other than just saying like dark humor? Like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a hypothetical that isn't terrible. Okay, like
somebody shoots herself in the head with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And you show up on scene and somebody's like, man, he done lost his mind.
Yeah.
Horrible humor.
Or something like that, or something like, man, you think you want to sell that shotgun now? Like, man. It's like it's kind of like the humor like that, and it's an offset to the situation. I think it's a lot of a coping mechanism. Yeah,
when we started, PTSD was truly reserved for military.
Yeah,
we didn't dare say we had it. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that verbiage is leaked over, and professionals have realized that we're filled with PTSD from the things we've seen.
Yeah.
We see things that really people shouldn't see.
Yeah, and I was, I don't want to cut you off, these two.
No, go ahead.
But I was talking to a younger person about EMS. And I remember when I got hired at America's Fire, Chief Tom. Do you remember Chief Tom?
Absolutely.
He asked me a question in my interview that said, it was, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly, but I remember it. He asked me, he's like, well, how do you think you'd be, if you had to see like a dead person or something in whatever terrible situation? And I had to think about it. I said, well, I've never seen a deceased person before, other than like a funeral. I said, but I think I'd be all right with it. I said, I think I could process it all right. And I said, I wasn't really prepared for the first terrible scenario you see, because it's whatever manner somebody can pass away, you're likely to see an EMS. And whatever age group. Especially 911 trucks, you never know what you're going to see. And I say that too about flight. We're blessed to at least have a heads up what we're going to. 911, a lot of times you show up and you don't know what you're going to. Like, it's a wreck. And it is like, some itty bitty kids or senior in the car. You don't know. And you're going to get there and find out. And it's all like instantaneous. I see this trauma and now I got to process it and I got to do my job. So you have to be cold in a way, and, you got to do the process, but you're not aware of that. But Chief Tom said that, and I told this that young person asked me a question about EMS, and that thought me think of Chief Tom's, and now I've gone through this long semi-rant about this. But I said, you will see more people deceased in different ways in EMS than 98% of the population ever will. And I said, that's the truth. And I said, you have to see that, deal with it, get off shift, and then you're normal and go get groceries at Walmart. and deal with everybody else in the normal public. And I mean, I don't want to equate us to military. They see terrible stuff in battle, but it's along the same lines of you got to reintegrate the next day, hours later, into a normal status and go about your normal daily routine. And I think that compartmentalization is a tough thing for all first responders, police, fire, EMS. It greatly is for the military.
Absolutely.
But I feel in a different realm, it's tougher for us because you have to flop back and forth from, one shift on, shift off. They got another shift on. Or 2 days off or 3 days off. And I think that flip-flopping back and forth. And I know I've talked with Ashley about it, my wife. I was like, I don't think I necessarily have PTSD. But now that I'm older, I've been doing this for 20 years. I said, I kind of wonder if there's like a buildup of this stuff. And I don't think you really realize it. Like you said, I think it's like a slow leak. It's just built up. Like,
I'll be just brutally honest. Like for myself.
Yeah.
The moment I realized I have some of it.
Yeah.
Is where I'll be watching something and it just makes me cry.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't make me cry.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't. But there's just tears that come down. It's like my wife will look at me and she's just like shakes her head. But it's just that's the truth is that is who I am and who I know to be and what I deal with.
Look, and I'm similar in that aspect of I have children now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when you first met me, you probably wouldn't have predicted. I don't foresee you seeing me like this now. I wouldn't think. I don't know. When you first met me and we were partners and I was a young buck and all full of piss and vinegar, would you have expected me to be like this later in life?
No, but I don't think you'd expect me to be sitting here.
Well, I wouldn't have predicted me doing this either.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a lot of us. I think that's a lot of normal growth. And, and part of that, too, is we see a lot of people that don't grow.
Yeah.
A lot of people that stay in this one lane that just kind of.
But now that I have kids, and I think, like you say that about crying brings to mind, like, I'll see simple stuff, like a sappy movie ending or something where I was like, it's like a 20-year-old movie I saw before I had kids. And I'm like, okay, sweet ending or whatever. And I can't think of anything specific. But I see the sincerity and the depth of whatever it. And I think of my family and stuff, and it gets to me. And I don't necessarily have like flashbacks of like,
it's not
of like bad stuff. I think it just feels like the suppression of emotion to deal with the call at hand. That
I think that's a great way to put it. The way that times that I feel, it's like my cup's full.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
And it's just I watch this and it makes me relate to family. A lot of times it's things I like. And it just comes out a little bit. But
and I think that's a great thing you said too, like cup's full. And maybe that's like, I would have to say that's probably like my cup a lot now, just from so many years of doing this. It's like you love the job, and like Pete said, I'm going to miss it. But you often wonder, I wonder, I guess, like, is my cup full? Like, I don't want to leave the job, and I don't foresee myself doing that per se. But it's like, do I need to take a sabbatical? Like, is that going to solve it? But I also like the job. I know I'm pretty good at my job. I like to be proficient, or at least above proficient. I don't want to at least just meet the bare minimums. But, like, it's like, what point do you call it quits? But I don't really want to call it quits. I don't think that's going to make me happy. It ain't going to make me happy going to work as a bank teller. I ain't going to keep picking on accountants.
I was waiting for it, man. I was about to be
I got to think of something else.
Anti-accountite.
Yeah. But, I also take the pleasure in simple things, my side business is I do drone stuff. I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot? I got an FAA card.
Man.
I'll show it to you. Yeah. But I'm a remote pilot. I couldn't be a real pilot because I'm colorblind. But, I'm a real pilot. But, I love doing that, and I find it fun. But I think it's something outside of EMS. And maybe that's part of it, too, is doing something else outside of the job. Awesome. And maybe that's part of why I want to talk to these people. Maybe it's a little bit of therapy for me, talking to these people. Like, how did you deal with all this and get by? Because you see so well put together. And a lot of those older people, they seem very well put together compared to some of the younger folks we see nowadays that seem torn up to a degree. And I don't know if, maybe I mentioned this with Larry, but you ever seen the people that are young bucks or gals and they have the fake burnout attitude? Oh, man, it kind of grinds my gears because I'm like, I don't want to say you're full of crap But like, just because you saw somebody that acted burnout that you respect and you think that's a cool attitude to have, don't have that. Don't have that.
It's funny.
And that's like, Pete, I respect that. That's what I want myself to be like. And I've been burnt out before,
No, but I agree with that. But you look at Pete, and the one thing I think Pete would have or would not have would be a partner that would be burned out.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with another area of the hospital. They were talking about a relatively new provider who just had somewhat of a negative attitude.
Yeah.
And my only thing I brought up to the supervisor was like, just a quick question. Do you think she's doing that because it's a learned behavior?
Yeah.
She's looking around. She's new. She's trying to fit in. And she's watching all these seasoned providers being very, very negative.
Taking on the attitude of the manager.
You know what I mean? Just like you said. So, and it's hyper frustrating for the older providers simply because, pardon my French, damn it, we've earned our stripes.
Yeah.
We earn the ability to be a little grumpy every now and then.
Yeah.
When the toe pain comes in, I can be a little rude.
Yeah.
I've earned those rights. But damn it, you haven't.
Yeah.
But are they just mimicking what they're seeing?
Yeah.
On the people they're looking up to.
And I distinctly remember one person, but it's been other people I've seen in that was not been in the service that long, and they were acting all burnt out. And I was like, bro, you ain't fooling nobody. And that's, I'd express it in those terms, but that's exactly what it was. And I was like, that's not cool. Like, you think you're cool? You're not fooling anybody. Like, I'm not trying to downplay, like, if you've seen something bad or whatever, you're upset or whatever, if you have some PTSD, but you're obviously mimicking a behavior you've seen because you think it's cool and it makes you like experienced looking, I guess, but that's not a cool attitude to have. And I was really burnt out for a while, and I can't really even say what specifically changed my attitude, but I think I got tired of being that way because it's like it's just a spiral of not death, but you're never going to come out of it. It's not going to lead you anywhere positive.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not gaining ground to at least do something else. You're just going to spiral out of that and probably go do whatever, and then you're going to come right back into it with a grumpy attitude. Come right back into EMS because that's what you know. And
because the truth of the matter is, I don't care what anybody says, it's a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And that's why people, when they leave, they come back to it. It's not something they stay. A lot of folks don't stay gone for very long at all.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about the 24-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And the working, Monday through Friday kind of stuff. It's hard. I
mean, there's a lot of good flexibility in it. I mean, truly. I mean, if you have kids like I do, you have to kind of schedule stuff out best you can. You're going to miss some birthdays and holidays. Sometimes you just can't get off shift.
Yeah.
I'm more blessed in my job to a degree that I have a little more flexibility in being able to swap shifts. But, sometimes fire department's like, nah, bro, you're working. No, you're on. You're on. And, thankfully I didn't have kids then, but, you sacrifice a lot. And like you talked about spouses earlier, I'm blessed to have my wife and Ashley.
Yeah.
She puts up a lot. I mean, hell, there's probably not a lot of women want to put up with me. my ADD, crazy.
I'm blessed. But I'm not going to get too much in the story, but most people that know me know my wife and I have been married twice.
Yeah.
I always tell people if she's ever smart enough to divorce me a second time, I'm going to try to marry her third. That's always been my saying with her.
And
absolutely blessed. She's such a rock for me.
Ashley stuck with me through hard times and bad, and she's been a rock, and I think I kind of struggle with now is like, I've learned that sometimes it's good for me to shut up. Especially with your wife,
Man, that's such a.
But it's tough too sometimes because you get like, what's wrong? Well, trying to figure out how to verbalize this without making things worse because I'm not the best at doing that. So trying to figure out that in between ground is tough for me. Which you're always growing and your life's changing and your relationship changing. You have to change with it. And this is just me talking here. This is probably not for everybody, but I think it's kind of a general rule that's pretty good to keep in mind. Is you have to grow with it. And I, Ashley's right about a lot of stuff. I may think I'm right, but I also have to accept that I ain't right about everything.
Absolutely.
And just, she always sees a better side of it or a different side. And, me and, I joke with Ashley, I was like, how I know if you're going to like something? If I don't like it. Whether it be food or whatever.
But, you talk about the growth part of it. And it's like, as a couple, You're either growing together or growing apart.
Yeah.
You're never on a straight trajectory where you don't either get closer or further apart.
Yeah. And there'll be times where you do both. You're going to go further apart and get closer together.
Absolutely.
But you have to work through it. I've been through several marriage counseling with Ashley, and it's just because of it's probably a lot to do with me. Well, I mean, it's both parties. You know what I mean? It's a sacrifice. And, there's been different people I've heard say that, marriage isn't 50-50. It just depends on the time frame, whatever. You might be given 90, you might be given 10.
Yeah.
The change in whatever dynamic, okay, it might change. They might be given 70, you got to give 30. It's always changing. It's not going to be equal all the time. And I can't thinking that, it's constantly a zero sum. Like I've gave my percentage or I've given all I'm going to give. Now, I mean, it might be 100%. Sometimes it might be 0. So, well, I guess 0 might mean you're dead, but maybe you're giving 99%. But it's you have to keep that in mind, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more important to give your spouse what they need.
Yeah,
and they don't need the same thing every day, every week, every month, and sometimes for a year they need a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going through things, and that's kind of your job is to recognize it and be there. And equally that's their job to recognize it when we need it.
Yeah.
And if we're not communicating, like you said, then you start that path of growing apart.
Yeah. And I think the communication as a whole, I think it's just a tough subject that's always been for EMS, even talking about PTSD or whatever, because we use the dark humor, and that does work to a degree, but it's not an end all, be all.
Right.
And I'm no psychologist, but clearly. But I kind of feel like the job, when you have something terrible, to some degree, you have to get back to the job and get past that. Like you got to learn how to work with it, work through it, work past it. And maybe that's having good partners. I mean, good partners make all the difference in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
They can make a terrible situation nothing, or they can make a simple situation terrible. And maybe that's a lot to do with it, being a good partner. I always try to be a good partner. I don't want to always work out. But I don't ever want to make anybody's day. I don't want anybody's day to get worse because of me. I'm the reason, I'm the grumpy pants that's bringing down the crew today because I didn't sleep well, or, my dog kept me up, or just whatever reason, you could be not having a good day. And it happens to us all, but I don't ever want to. I don't want to be that reason. You know what I mean? That's kind of like a fear of mine that I try not to be. I always try to have a good attitude, but it's not always there. And especially when you get into EMS, and I think more so in flight because you're looked at, I have to always remember that people are looking at you. And if you have a bad attitude, like, man, it's going to be remembered. And if you, being a ground EMS person, if you walk into a house with a bad attitude, they're going to remember it. They might not remember the great thing you did for them or whatever, but I tell you what, they'll remember, that person with a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And I think of old, I don't know if I remember his name. I don't want to say his name. Initials SL from.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, best provider in the world. And I loved him. But sometimes his bedside manner would not be good. And I remember him getting in trouble. I remember we got out of a truck one day. We'd been there before to a house, and I was his partner. They said, not him. He can stay there in the truck. You can come in, though. Okay. And sat at the truck, and I went and talked to him.
And he had no problem with it.
Nope. And that was a smarter, better, more seasoned medic than me. But it's just the perception of the attitude.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, the public for the most part doesn't understand your skills or what you bring to the table, but they'll remember, that bad attitude,
or they even know what you can do in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Or scope of practice, or what your responsibility is. They don't understand any of that, but they do understand how you make them feel.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing. People, make people feel good.
Yeah, and that's like say you could be the worst provider in the world, but if you genuinely care about your patient and want to do the best for them, people will remember that. And I try to remember that in flight because people, I feel, more so look at you and will remember that. I guess there's probably less of us, but even on the ground, fire, police, EMS, I feel like that's remembered. You ain't got to be the best provider, but it's easy to be, have a good attitude. Well, maybe not easier. It's an easier thing is to work on that and to have a decent attitude. And maybe that's part of, flipping the switch and compartmentalizing whatever terrible is going on. But I feel like you got to do that to a degree because it gets seen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My crews will laugh at you because I say this all the time. Perception is somebody's reality.
Yeah. People remember stuff that you don't, and I'm not talking about like partners. I'm talking about like, the public. People remember small acts of kindness, and they'll damn sure remember small acts of meanness, and that's going to get told, whether it was something, a slight, because, you just came from a terrible call and you ain't got patience for this toe pain right now. That's their emergency to them right then, and though it's nothing to you because you just got off of whatever terrible wreck, that toe pain house is going to remember it. That guy had a terrible attitude in here, came in here, and he didn't want to take my mama to the hospital. I mean, their mom was the most important thing to them. They don't know that you just got off something terrible or whatever's going on with you, but you have to still be present in the current situation as much as you don't want to be there at 3 a.m. because you had this terrible thing and you're going again for their toe pain for the third time that week. Yeah. And that's probably one of the tougher things that you got to put on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. At the end, I love the job, and I don't want to sound like I'm bitching about it. It's almost like a tough thing for me to express the difficulties of that in EMS. And I guess, man, that's, like I said, going back to the point of I want to talk to some people like yourself and Pete, and I've always had this good attitude, and seem to have surpassed that, and been proficient experts in that field, along with being great providers, and I don't know. Like I said to begin with, when you asked me that question about why I'm doing this, I see something in all these people that probably a lot of people see that I want to bring to the forefront. You are, like I said at the beginning, are supremely good educator. You can break stuff down to like the nth degree to just about anybody, I feel like. I mean, I'm sure there's people that you haven't been able to get across your point to, but you can break it down in a professional manner that is not condescending. You know what I mean? Which some people break it down. All right, for the fourth time, this is what it is. And you're like, man, I just don't get it. I'm not a dumb man. I try not to cuss them.
I always have the hardest time with the educators that want to sound like they're the smartest person in the room. Well, that's why you're the educator. You are the smartest person in the room in this context. Yeah. Make it make sense to them. Yeah. Don't talk over their head. Yeah. And like I said, you've always been a person that can break that down very well for people. And there's no denying, I think anybody that meets you, whether in EMS or out, I don't think there's any way they could deny your enthusiasm to do that. I think you would have much enthusiasm if you could break down this pen. I think you would have as much enthusiasm breaking down the aspects of this pen to somebody that didn't understand it as a ventilator or, needle decompression or whatever else. I think it's just your enthusiasm to teach. I wish I could break stuff down like that. I'm kind of like, all right, this pin does this. You got to unscrew this thing right here. Like, what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't remember what this is called, but this is what you got to do. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I really, really do. So, and I don't know. And I do think, you're a good person. I can't ever remember you having a bad, we all have bad days, but I can't ever remember you being like a rude provider per se. Like, I'm sure there might be more people than that have something bad to say about than Pete, because I think Pete's a zero. Yes. I am no Pete. I would love to get, I don't know if there's like a Doherty County record of complaints. I would love to see if there's a single complaint about Pete ever, like in his career, which, I mean, that's his personal record, but I can't imagine there's any. That's got to be an empty folder. If they had a folder in everybody's file, had complaints, Pete's got to be empty. Yeah. There's no questions. Absolutely empty. Yeah. But I know you probably want to get out of here, but I want to ask you, did you always love teaching, or is that just something you grew into once you got into EMS? Like when you were a swim teacher, was that something, or like a lifeguard? I mean, yes, I've always kind of enjoyed, and I look at more of my enthusiasm as more of a coach than it is a teacher, just because I understand, emergency medicine and I can break it down. Yeah. I don't view it as much as I'm out there, I'm not your traditional educator. Yeah. I got in trouble. I didn't get in trouble, but, I got a talking to by, when I was a full-time instructor. And they would get mad at things I would do. And I would always tell people, and this is something I learned from my dad at a very early age, is there's a difference between equal and fair. Yeah. And fair is giving somebody what they need. Mm-hmm. Equal is giving everybody the same thing. Mm-hmm. When you look out through a classroom, your job is to get to know these people and figure out what it is that they need to be successful and give it to them. And it's not the same. And boy, the school systems do not like that. No. No. I was equated to You know, you got a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. You know, it's Christmas. You don't give them the same Christmas gift. You're not equal at all. But you're fair. You give them what they would need and enjoy. And I think that's the way I look at it. I'm more of a coach, more of a, you know, believing in people.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that goes to like management too. I always heard a saying, and maybe this is part of management philosophy, but I always heard, you know, like the feather versus the hammer. You know, some people you can strike with a feather and get a good result. Some people you got to hit with a hammer to get that same result. And it's like, you have to learn who needs a feather and who needs a hammer.
That is so, man, that is so true. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And I don't remember who told me that years ago, but I was like, you know, that's probably pretty accurate. Now I think about different people and different stuff.
Man, some people you look at them and you go, man, I got to be honest with you, I'm disappointed. Yeah. And that feather has just crushed.
Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, man, I'm sorry. Then some people are like, so?
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care. What's that mean?
You're so right.
And you got to strike them with a hammer. But, you know, and that goes back to, I think, of the management thing of like, oh, it's equal. Everybody's going to get the radio taken away from them now.
Yeah, 100%, but that's it. So that was, I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it, but I always love teaching.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're still, you know, you're still doing some teaching though, right?
I'm doing a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would even think in your current position, it would be hard for you not to see an opportunity to teach and instruct crews that you see with the issue they happen to run across of like, you know, teach them with something.
Yes. We got a young man who's studying for his FPC.
Yeah.
It's just filled with questions.
Yeah.
And we went through anion gaps and delta gaps and what exactly it means. And when you go to the right or go to the left, what happens. And it was just fun to see his enthusiasm to learn just something a little different. Like, you know, one of the big things they're trying to breathe into a lot of the younger people is they get out of school. And we were the same way. We felt like we knew it all. Like we knew everything about blood gases.
Yeah.
And we knew we scraped the surface of blood gases. But you know what I mean? I know you know that because you've studied it at this end. But we walked around for years thinking we knew everything there was about blood gases. And then you kind of learn some more and you're like, oh, fair enough.
There's a quote I heard, it might have been like Bishop Barron or somebody said, was like the more I figure out or the more I learn, the greater I realize the width of my stupidity or something.
Yeah,
So the more you learn, you realize the more you don't know. And I think I've heard Sean Radford say that before. He's like, you know, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
You're so right, man.
And the wiser you grow, the more you realize how stupid you are. And that's, I guess, I'm kind of at the point. I'm like, man, I'm pretty dumb. I'm like,
it's funny because the more I know, the more I learn. You know, the more I realize, God, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I'm always learning. You know, I go in and out of realms of which I'm, like I said, I'm impulsive. I go in and out of times of concentration on whatever field, whatever's driving me at that time. But I need to get back into it. I don't know. But what? Anything else you want to cover we didn't cover?
No, man. I think I'm good. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I would love to come back and do it again.
Yeah,
I really would. Once you run through some guests and
there's a couple more people I plan on getting on soon. Hopefully, I can get everybody lined up. You know, you work a 9 to 5, 7 to 4 now. But you know, I have my off days in the week. I'm trying to get some people here when I'm off that work 24-hour shifts too. So, but yeah, there'll be more coming. I'll get you back in. I got more mics and stuff. So I thought about, I might have a few people in here, a couple people, just depending.
That'd be great.
And there's some more ideas. There's a sensitive topic I'll talk to you off air about, an idea I have, and you'd be a good person to run it by.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
All right.